welcome your host, Lekong Kabinde, Public Affairs and Communications Manager.
Thank you everyone for the lovely warm reception. It's lovely to see all of you joining us virtually. Please take a moment and just wave at us. It's good to see all of you on screen. Welcome to our very first virtual company event for the year, themed The Power of One. Why the Power of One? You'll learn more about that later. I trust that you had a very restful break despite the turbulences that came with the year that 2020 was. What I can promise you though is that this year we have a very busy but exciting year. More about that later. Firstly, let's just quickly cover some ground rules. Please make sure that your video is on and it remains switched on throughout the duration of the broadcast, even during breaks. Secondly, make sure that your mic is muted. Thirdly, when you want to ask questions, please type a message directly to Anel. Search for initials ABRG and then type your question directly to her. If you want to share comments, you can also use that same link or same address to type. We would love to hear from you. We want to keep this as interactive as possible. And I must just inform you that as we get your questions, we will be bringing some of you live on studio during the Q&A later this morning. But first, we really had a very challenging year in 2020, and during that time, a lot of things happened that derailed a lot of plans, and a lot of organizations were derailed as well. However, we had a different outcome as an organization, and we achieved our results despite the challenges. It truly showed that we came together, and the spirit of stronger together that we adopted in 2020 carried us through. Not only that, because we did so well, there are good targets and good ambitions set for the year coming. And with that, let's take a quick look back at the video that we put together for the year that was 2020 and what to look forward to 21.
"2020 started off on a great note. Full of hope, full of promise, stronger together.
The new Miss Universe is South Africa!
But then, the year changed.
The coronavirus could put many South Africans in hospital.
Our country recorded over 4,400 new cases of infection.
It will be remembered as the year of social distancing and new normal. But working as one, we rose to the occasion. We reinforced our commitment to defeating diabetes and other chronic diseases like obesity. We ensured continuous and uninterrupted supply and access to our life-saving medicines. Thanks to all of you and your fantastic efforts. We are very proud of our results in 2020. We achieved sales above index 110 and OP above index 120. We defended our strong market leadership, share of growth above market share. We had unprecedented regulatory approvals and fantastic CDC results. We had launch execution of IO Engage. We conducted more than 80 webinars and digital summits covering around 5,000 HCPs. We had a 91% engagement score and best practices like P&O Pulse. We had improved patient access to our innovative products. And all this with a very high focus on business ethics. Very well done. Congratulations. We thank Bamiak team for their guidance and support.
Last year, we kicked off with the motto, Stronger Together. And despite all the external challenges, you have been strong in 2020 in South Africa. You have outperformed our internal targets, sales and profits. Even more importantly, You've done wonderfully when it comes to taking our share of growth up. Soon, we'll see share of growth consistently above our market share, and that's already a high market share. So phenomenal job that makes us very proud here in the business area. The good news is it doesn't stop here. We are launching Saxenda, we are launching Soltify. That's breaking new ground thanks to our regulatory colleagues that we are now really getting into launch mode in South Africa. And I am excited about your slogan this year, which again talks about the power of team. I have no doubt that when we do this video a year from now, we'll be beyond COVID and you will be on top of the charts once again.
We go into 2021 driven by an ambition and purpose, driving change to defeat diabetes. We are guided by the IO game plan and infinite opportunities outlined in the SEMIA strategy. The year 2021 will be the power of one team, one plan, one goal. Our plan is to achieve AB21 sales of more than 1.1 billion ZAR with a double-digit sales growth. We will drive SOG above market shares. We will execute world-class launches of Saxenda, Zoltofy, Ozempic, Victoza CV and Nordiflex. Commercial excellence through IO Engage. We will also launch our new BBBEE project, of which we are all immensely proud of. We will continue our digitalization and virtualization initiatives. This year is also very special because it's 100 years of insulin discovery. As we forge into the future, we know that 2021 will be a pivotal year for our business and we have set ambitious goals. Using the power of one, we are inspired to defeat diabetes and other chronic conditions for the next 100 years. And that is the power of one.
That is indeed the power of one, something very interesting to look forward to after such a tremendous year that we've had. I've got an interesting lineup of speakers for you coming up, audience. So I please need you, when I introduce them, because we need your energy with us here in studio, please clap for them, just applaud them, and so that we can feed off your energy. We do need you to participate and be involved. And remember, if you've got questions, type them to Anel, ABRG, and then we will bring you on later on to ask your questions during the Q&A. Up next, I would like to call on Venkat, who will be telling us more in detail about the results that you've just seen and also the targets that we need to achieve for the year ahead. After Venkat, Emil will come on and then we will be back with you shortly after that. And now, let's go to Venkat's video.
Venkat Kalia, Vice President and General Manager.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yes, I can feel all the energy and you all look great, fantastic in your wonderful Saxenda shirts and the ties. And it's really great to see you all virtually. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really hope you all had a good break, had a good time with your family and friends. I know it's not the nicest of the situation here in South Africa with the second surge going on everywhere. But I just hope you all took some time and recharge your batteries as we meet in 2021. And thank you so much for coming back with all the energy. When we say Novo Nordisk South Africa is a family, we really mean it. So we always start the new year by welcoming our newborn cute babies. So it's really great to welcome all the new arrivals, the new babies, looking so great and cute on the screen, and all their proud parents. A big applause to all the proud parents and the cute, sweet babies who have joined the Novo Nordisk South Africa family. We wish you all the best. I'm also very happy to welcome all the new colleagues who have joined us. I can tell you this was the best decision of your life. we are going with the focus on life-changing careers. So I wish you all, on behalf of the entire team, a successful career in Novo Nordisk, and welcome. I'm also very happy to welcome our Bamiak management team. COVID caused a lot of concerns, but it also brings in new opportunities. I was just discussing with Mikhail on WhatsApp in the morning that last year it was only Mikhail, Emil and BK who joined us physically. But because of the virtual meeting, we have the pleasure of having the entire Bamiak management directors team and Emil virtually on the call. Thank you so much for joining. It really means a lot to us to hear from you on the guidance for South Africa. Thank you. So as we saw, the year 2020 started on a great note. South Africa had just won the Rugby World Cup, and we did something great. We brought the beast into the room, and you can see the energy and all the mayhem that went in the room when we announced that beast is coming into the room. And you can see the selfie frenzy and all that going on. We started the year with a great focus on stronger together. Yes, everything was going great for South Africa, everywhere, right? Things were going great, and that was really, really fantastic. So as I see that the year 2020 went off very well, and it was a very unique year then. As we saw, everything changed, right? It became the year of social distancing, a new normal. But here I want to take a moment to first thank the colleagues in our product supply globally, and logistics in business area, and our colleagues here in South Africa, and the quality colleagues who worked overtime to ensure that we overcome all the challenges and we are able to get an uninterrupted supply of our products and medicines to all the patients in South Africa. So we really adhered to the patient first motto there, and I'm very proud of all our colleagues that ensured this thing to happen here in South Africa. So very well done. Now, with this technology, we'll also see how this meeting goes. There may be a few hiccups here and there, but we just hope we can give you a seamless experience. We are already into 2021, but with such good results, and with my boss and the Bamiak team online, it gives me an opportunity to once again highlight the great work that all of you have done in 2020. So starting with, we all did it, guys. I'm so happy and proud that we are a $500 million DKK affiliate. You remember the ambition we kept? Yes, I can see some of you saying that. 400 million if we had a great year, and we surpassed that. I was just speaking to Emil the other day, and he says he has full confidence in our team, and 750 in the next few years is something that we should really aspire for. On behalf of the South Africa team, Emil, I think we will definitely work on this aspiration in the coming few years. But for now, we are great to achieve this landmark 500 million DKK. The growth, we have achieved 12.5% growth in sales, and OP, you may see that we have almost doubled the OP. In 2018, when you remember, we had a OP of close to 160 million, and now we are close to 305. Almost double the OP in a few years. That's really, really fantastic. So yes, the OP was also aided because of the cost reductions that happened because of COVID last year. Nevertheless, overall a very good performance. And when we see the market shares, and that's something really good. As you know, we have leadership in market share position in South Africa, in diabetes, but our share of growth was lagging behind the market. When we started the year, the share of growth was almost less than half of what the market share was. That means we were not gaining market share. But because of your efforts and great support from everywhere, we are able to take that up. You heard Emil in the video to say that we need to keep that share of growth above market share. Last month was a slight blip, if I was to be honest, but I'm sure we will come back and show this strong momentum in share of growth and market share for diabetes. Insulins, it was a fantastic year. Yes, we were also aided by our overall sales in modern insulins, new generation insulins, and you can see the share of growth is well above the market shares. So really, really fantastic. GLP-1, we almost have the entire market, 90% market. But now we know we have new competition. That means our share of growth is slowly going down. But I'm sure with all the efforts that we have got on Victoza and more plans that are to be laid out by the management team later on and the support from Bamiak, we will definitely turn this around. But overall, great performance on market shares and share of growth. Very well done. I'm also very happy to see that we launched in midst of this pandemic our IO Engage. And this is something that has changed the landscape with virtual calling and so many trainings, go live sessions, end user trainings. I was really proud of the entire work done by the IO Engage team, and we have gone live in October, and we are close to more than 20,000 calls that have been recorded, and I know that you are all putting your best efforts on IO Engage. That is going to be a game changer as we move into 2021. I'm also very happy with the Bioform team has shown the way for the virtual launches. This was the first launch of Nordiflex we had in November last year, and then a number of KOLs joined the event, and we had a flavor of a virtual launch which will take forward to many more new launches in 2021. A very high employee engagement. We had 91% engagement score. You will hear more about it from Janile and Tulay. We had P&O Pulse, we had messages from Bamiak team, we have messages from our Zurich office and many other things to keep us all connected. All with very high focus on business ethics. And our legal and compliance team together worked with the compliance ambassadors and keep the BE on the top of the agenda all the time. CDC team, we are very proud of your achievements. A big applause to all of you. Yes, you can clap for yourselves, and I can hear the loud energy. Here I can see everybody in the studio clapping for you, the CDC team. And you know how to party, as you can see in the picture, but you also know how to deliver. That was really fantastic. And you went the extra mile. The clinical trial associates, you visited doctors in midst of the pandemic, you took care of your safety, but you also took care of the patient safety, and we are on top of the line as far as clinical trials is concerned, and I'm sure that makes our Bamiak team and us very proud of your efforts. Very well done. Medical team, it was fantastic results throughout the year with more than 6,000 HCPs that were reached. We participated in the ARISE trial. We had so many interactions, ad boards. We participated in so many webinars done by Bamiak and our region. So really fantastic work there. And I would really once again give a special applause to our frontline heroes, our DNE team. During the pandemic and now, I get so many calls from the doctors. They tell me, Venkat, it's okay if you don't come and visit us, but you make sure your DNEs come and see us. So on a lighter note, they say that, but it's very important. The importance of our DNEs going and visiting patients, doing so many virtual calls with the patients, and doctors do realize so much importance of you. So take a bow, very well done, all the DNE team. And here you can see all of them really masked, and of course this is a picture that has been framed for this occasion. They were not so close. They are following social distancing, being HCPs. And we have instituted a bell in the second floor. And Panos, if you remember, when you were here, that was the first day we kept the bell and we were ringing it when we had a good business ethics outcomes. Little did I know at that time that this bell will keep ringing because of our regulatory colleagues. And then in March, we started getting regulatory approvals. First, it was Saxenda. And before we said, oh, that's great, we had Zaltofy. And then Yugantri calls and says, now we have Ozempic approved, Nordiflex approved. And then by the end of the year, we even had Victoza CV, which was pending for a long time. So this bell was continuously ringing, and I wish it keeps on ringing with all the good successes that we will have in South Africa. Great wins with our patient access team, our commercial colleagues. Despite delivering all these great market shares and sales results, they have also ensured that we have very good tender outcomes. Yes, we were also helped a bit by the market and the COVID situation, but still unprecedented tender sales in year 2020. And we also, with the help of our pricing colleagues in Bamiak and in South Africa, we were able to go and negotiate good deals and managed to bring back Novo Rapid on the Discovery formulary. Yes, there were a few hiccups at the end of the year, but I know that the entire team is working on getting back whatever successes we had last year and move forward in 2021. So really fantastic work. So with that, I think we can take once again a big applause to all of you for all the fantastic work done in 2020. Really great, and today is the occasion we need to celebrate. But some of you may ask, Venkat, but this is a virtual meeting. When are we celebrating? That's a good question, and we will celebrate, and we will have more announcements coming later. God willing, as they say, and the COVID situation stabilizes. Who knows, maybe we'll go for a long pending trip to Turkey to celebrate these good results. But more about it later. We'll have an awards evening sometime in March that was planned, but we'll look at the corona situation and plan that also later on. So that's all about 2020. But now we are already in 2021. So you may ask, what is the plan now, Venkat? It's good. You told us the great results of 2020, but what is happening in 2021? First, I would like to say you started very well. I know that all of you are already in the field and you're working on delivering the invites for the new launches. That's because the commercial team ensured the cycle meetings happened in November and December. All the boot camps were done for the launches. All the groundwork was done last year. So I know that you're already hit the ground running as we speak. And today we are just kicking off the company day and just as a formality, but you know what to do. So that's really fantastic. But in the last few days, we also had the great opportunity to go to the IM virtually, look at the strategic aspirations. We had looked at the IO game plan that was sent to all of us by Mike Dusthar, our EVP. We have our SEMEA strategy and infinite opportunities that is launched by our SVP, Andre, and the guidance from BAMIAC, from Emil and the BAMIAC directors. So we use that as a framework and we developed our game plan for 2021. Now when some of you may ask, what is this power of one? So I can go on and on, but I will tell you a few things. This is the year 2021. We are the number one company in diabetes in South Africa as well as globally. You are the number one team. Nobody can get a better team than this. And we have the number one launches coming up this year. We have the number one insulin in South Africa. I can go on and on for the next 1 hour, but Leko now tells me my time is going out. So I'll stop here. But just to say that power of one is all about us, the team, the plan that we are going to talk today, the guidance that we'll get, and the one goal that we'll all plan for ourselves. And with the fantastic, wonderful South African flag giving us all the proud that we need, the power of one will guide us in the new year. So what are our must-win battles? I'll quickly say about them, but we'll hear more during the day from our management team as well as our BAMIAC directors. Number one, we need to achieve the sales targets, AB21, with a double-digit sales growth. So we will try and aspire to grow in double digits. We'll get the launches, Zoltafy, Saxenda, Ozempic, Victoza CV, and that's very, very, very important. Market share above, and the share of growth above the market shares in diabetes, insulin, GLP-1, and that's the mantra. We'll have a proper plan for it. You'll hear more on how do we outperform the competition here, particularly when we know that there are so many new competition in the market. We'll continue with our digitalization initiatives. We'll continue with our MCE initiatives, and you'll hear more about that. All with high focus on commercial excellence and IO Engage. You may ask, so does it look very easy in South Africa? Are we going to just deliver it? You know better than me. We are in midst of a pandemic. Our economy is going down. We have so many challenges from macro side with the rand and everything, unemployment. But I think we have withstood all of that and delivered in 2020. Yes, we have a few challenges in 2021. The new tender outcome is yet to be released. We have no idea on the price increases yet as we start there, by which time last year we have delivered that. But I have the confidence that when we stand as one team, we will deliver these must-win battles and we will overcome the challenges. The market is vastly different as compared to 2020. It's not just us who got the new product approvals. It's also our competition. So as we are preparing for Ozempic launch, Trulicity is already launched in the market. As we are launching Nordiflex, we know the biosimilar is already in the market, right? So there is a lot of competition across. But I'm so confident with all our plans and guidances that we have got that we will get going with these must-win battles. The new launches are what I live and what we all will live. And Emil was also telling me that this is what keeps him awake at night. They're getting the innovation to the patients at the right time and the right price. Price, you leave it to us. We will work with our Bamiak colleagues and IO to get the pricing. But we need to ensure a seamless launch, starting with Zoltofy, which is very close to my heart. And with this, we will work on basal insulin market share improvement, and who knows, basal insulin market leadership. Then Saxenda, the long-awaited launch, will come in 6th of February. We are planning to bring in 1,000 doctors virtually. And then all the team is in place. I know you're all very excited. A big applause to the entire Saxenda team. Guys, you have us with you. The entire team is wearing the Saxenda tie. And I have to tell you, I even managed to get Donovan wear the Saxenda tie for today, right? So that's the promise and the excitement going on with everybody for you Saxenda launch. And the expectations are high, but I have no doubt we'll surpass those expectations. Victoza CV, long pending approval has come through. So before we launch our Ozempic, I think we need to get the message of CV Victoza everywhere. So GLP-1 team will get going, and then Ozempic. Some of the other teams may ask, the premix team, Venkat, what about us? We are not launching new products, but that doesn't matter. Wherever you are, I think we need to get with our products. The launches, of course, are important, but also getting through our other products and ensuring that we achieve the must-win battles. This is the 100 years of insulin. We can be extremely proud of our heritage, and you will all get our blue book. We have so many initiatives in South Africa with our Cities Changing Diabetes in Johannesburg and many other initiatives that will be launched throughout the year. So 100 years of insulin and number of initiatives that will be launched throughout the year. But what makes us immensely proud of that? But if you ask me, Venkat, what is one thing that makes you really, really proud of our team here? And this is the BBBEE project. Ruth told me to pronounce it correctly, or otherwise she will not approve this. So I hope I have pronounced it correctly. But this is our EAP project. We had to go get our approval from our colleagues in Bamiak, Emil, Mikkel, and the Panos and the entire team. Then we had to go to our previous region, AMIO. And it took more than 4 years to get all these things done. But I want to thank all the management for their support. But we will be launching this very soon. We will be the #1 pharmaceutical company to go with this initiative, and our BBBE rating will improve from level 6 or 7 to almost to level 2. So we will be among the top companies with that rating. That means our commitment to the diversity, our commitment to the empowerment in South Africa, and working across so many spheres. So that's really fantastic, and I'm really proud we will launch this going forward. We'll also launch a number of environmental initiatives. So I hope I have given you a glimpse of so many things that are going to come. And this is just the starting. And today is the 14th of Jan. We have the entire year to go. So there are so many new things that are going to come. And with our ambitions, with our plans, and more importantly, with the one team, that's all of you, one plan that I've just said, and the goal to achieve the sales, market share, and all the ambitions, I'm thinking we are ready to go and kick off 2021. Thank you so very much. Very good. With that, I will take the opportunity to invite Emil, my boss, and our CVP for business area, Bamiak, to give his message and guidance to the South Africa team. Emil, welcome. Hope you can hear me, and thank you so much.
I hear you, Venkat. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Then thank you very much for the invitation to join you all here today. It was a meeting last year that I still remember, and that gave me a lot of energy through Q1. Thinking back on, I remember Venkat when the Beast made us look small on stage, and we actually also had very good conversations with him around team and being stronger together. And the fact that you continue with this theme this year with the power of one, I like a lot, because what we do is a team sport. We win and lose as a team, and everyone looks good on a winning team. That's also, I think, the real test of a team is how do we do when we hit rough waters, and for sure you did that in South Africa with COVID last year. and perhaps hit harder than almost any of our other affiliates in Bamiak. And that's also, by the way, if I can have my slide by the good crew here. Super. Then you got hit by a little bit of rough waters, and you'll also see that the quote I chose to kick off my New Year greeting with was a quote by John Lennon that at least both Tom, Donovan, and I remember as a fantastic artist who in one of his songs has this quote saying, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." And of course, it's when you get that kind of surprises, you also see the strength of a team, and you for sure found ways to maneuver with a lot of agility. And if I can have the next slide and just sort of recapping also on what Venkat shared in his presentation, then it was really a year where you, despite having to change just about every plan across every function, delivered a historic performance, and you did that in at least two dimensions to start with. One is comparing to your own growth record in the past. Then you delivered almost 13% growth on that, and you did it in a very sustainable way. It was not driven by stocking up. It was driven by several product categories, and it was driven by in-market despite all these challenges. And you should take a lot of pride in that, and we are very happy to see that, and also that the ambition continues into this year. The other one is what we talked about, and also some of the times we've met, is that it was not just beating our history or internal numbers, it was really up against competition. And you actually have a very high market share overall in diabetes of more than 30%. But we saw in the last months of the year, last year, that you were even having share growth above. And that's a phenomenal performance. That is the mother of all indicators, that you're bringing our innovation to more and more people at every affordability level in South Africa. So you should be proud, and that is how we'll keep track of how we perform as a team. And then you did better than almost any affiliate I can think of. You went from sort of 0 to 100 in this whole digital space, whether it was getting the consent of being out there in the front line, combined, bringing our digital medical offerings to doctors, making them sign up, etc. You did that, and you have had a phenomenal reach with these types of engagement, and that just bodes so well also for some of the upcoming launches that we'll have to do without face-to-face meetings. And this is then what I really like, and Venkat recapped that very nicely, that it is a team effort, and I could go on team by team. I won't do it because of time, but you have really been breaking new ground, as Venkat pointed to, across the functions, and that's when you do well, when you fire on all engines. And just if I can have the next slide to show you how we see it here from Istanbul, where we are covering 75 countries, and we have a number of heavy affiliates. You are already, because of sales, a top 5 affiliate in Bamiak. But you will see one thing that's also very impressive here. That is that you are 500 million, but you're growing almost 13%. And that brings you in the growth ranks of Bamiak actually into the league of affiliates that take our growth up. So you're just above our average growth. And that's phenomenal. We have not a few years back thought of South Africa as a growth leader if we look across the affiliates, and that we do now. And with the launches you have, I am quite confident that you can keep up there. Venkat also said that of course I like to challenge him, and how long would it take with this growth level, if you maintain that, to be 50% larger, 750 million DKK? Well, you're only looking at 3.5 years, and in around 6 years you could potentially double the size of the affiliate if we keep this traction. And that's not impossible given the unmet need in our therapy areas and the pipeline we have. So just think about South Africa being twice as large. That means a lot of opportunity to invest into all sorts of good initiatives and of course reach more patients. So take this slide, be proud, and let's keep you in solid digit territory. Then we will have many things to celebrate going forward as well. Let me have the next slide. Because what I will also just want you to see is that not only are you doing good locally, but if we take sort of the global lens, then
last year was actually also a good year. And I don't want to show a lot of numbers, but one way to figure out are we doing good, of course, is what investors think about our company. They are sort of pretty critical buyers of stocks, of course, and the value they put on our company say a lot about our performance. And if we can just have the next slide, then I was even a little bit surprised when I got these very fresh numbers. And what you see here that if the market cap, so if you were to buy the global top pharma companies, what would the price be of all these companies? And here you see J&J on top, then you see Roche, second largest company in the world on value, and then you sort of get into sort of some companies that are just around a 1,000 billion DKK. And the Novo is actually number 7 globally in terms of size. I think it's bigger than most of us imagine, and it's one up compared to last year. Also look at our old competitor, Sanofi, how far they are down on that rating, and you know how close we are to the value of a company like Pfizer. That says something about, of course, the portfolio we have, but also the execution we are part of out there. If I can have the next slide as well. The other good thing is, just like you are improving global or market share performance, so is our global market share going up. And actually, that's driven by GLP-1 at the moment. We also have a good insulin performance, but it's particularly GLP-1 pulling that up. You don't yet fire, you would say, on all cylinders on GLP-1, and you have competition coming in. But this will also in the future be something that can add to your already strong insulin performance with Victoza CV coming up, around the corner. You have an opportunity to take your already high market share even higher. And you will see here that the global market share is around 30%. You're even a little bit higher, but you are without the help of GLP-1. So even though it sounds ambitious, you actually have the opportunity to become a global diabetes overall market share top performer with your portfolio in the future. So that's very nice to see. Let's take the next one. And this is just, I think, what excites all of us, that not only are we doing well today, but we also have a phenomenal pipeline. I will not go through it all, but there's phenomenal innovation in insulin that our science colleague can tell us all about. Obesity is just phenomenally exciting with Saxenda, but particularly also our follow-on molecules that have phenomenal weight loss. But then, for the first time in the many years I've been in Novo Nordisk, we are venturing into completely new therapy areas, NASH, CV, etc., with very, very exciting innovation. So this is the reason, of course, also that external investors see phenomenal value in Novo Nordisk, because they want to be part of this journey that will be on for the next 10 years. What is also special about South Africa in relation to global is that you are actually our only independent CDC country, and you are running all these innovative trials. That's also why we have to bring the products to South Africa. That's our commitment. If we do the trials in the country, we definitely also want the patients to benefit long term of the innovation that we've been part of evolving globally. I also just learned, by the way, that the CDC team is like all the other teams, but basically smashing all the balanced scorecard expectations and seen as also a role model from South Africa in this area that ties all the way into global. So thanks for that effort and being part of making this pipeline come into reality. Can I have the next slide? So this is just sort of say top box. I hope I have convinced you that the financials of the company overall and the outlook is phenomenal. And then, of course, what's special about our company is we are foundation owned. We also want to take responsibility for access to care and defeating diabetes, whether it's at the high end with the newest innovation or elsewhere where we just have to bring high quality, very, very affordable products to more patients. And there in Bamiyan, we're very proud of being part of the eye care strategy in Middle Africa, supporting access for the population of more than 1 billion people that live across our Middle African countries, the 49 countries we have there. We will come and tell you much more about that, because it is a fantastic project where we're really trying to break down all the barriers for access, not only price, but also accessibility and education, etc. So you will hear more about that, and hopefully you will feel as proud as we are that we're really trying to make a difference in that challenging geography. And finally, of course, we will soon be fully powered by renewable energy, and we will also make an effort in our part of the world in that area by little, looking at our own transportation, cars, etc. It will take time, but we'll get there. And of course, how we fly, etc., etc. So I think we are a company to be proud of, both financially, but on all these other aspects. And I hope you also represent that externally with our stakeholders in South Africa. If I can have the next slide. And that is even closer to home, namely our Bamiaq performance. So I just want to give you a feeling for, while we cannot be with you, then there's a lot of excitement here in our, by the way, new Istanbul office. So let me get the first slide on how we're faring as a BA. And this is just to say, just like you are accelerating and doing much better than the past, then this is just how our growth stacks up. And you will see that Bamiaq is doing almost 12%. You're 1% higher. That's why I say you're actually helping us pulling up the average growth. But you also see that sort of pink purple bar there, we are adding more sales than we've ever done historically these years. And that's again with very, very healthy stock and coming into the year with a lot of momentum. So we feel happy about it as you feel happy about your local performance. If I can have the next slide. This is our market share. I have to say, also on market share, you are actually a little bit pulling up our share of growth, because we are doing good on insulins, but we are taking some hits on not only so much our performance within GLP-1, but we are not across our BA growing GLP-1 enough within modern diets, and that means that the good performance on insulin doesn't translate into overall improvement in our diabetes value share. So we're sort of hanging in there, but to be honest, we want to do better. We have a market share in diabetes, as you can see there, is it the 23% or so in Bamiaq on average, and we actually want to take that up closer to the 1/3 of the diabetes market over the coming years as we expand and win within the GLP-1 segment. So there's still some homework for us as a team in Bamiaq, and hopefully you will be part of really changing that effort by also building a strong GLP-1 segment and winning within in South Africa. Can I have the next slide? That's then looking ahead and what are we wanting to do next year. So let me dig a little bit into that. With the next slide, please. Because of course, we came out of this year in a phenomenal way, and you were a big part of that with also selling a lot of our legacy products, human insulin, doing great in biopharm across many of our countries, also in South Africa. But we also have to recognize that our success last year was built to a large extent on legacy products, whereas NGIs, GLP-1, and particularly obesity was not growing as much as we had hoped for across Bamiaq. Next year, of course, you'll be part of hopefully getting obesity back to strong growth, and we want to see more growth there because that is the future. And if I can have the next slide, you will see what we are planning to accomplish this year. We're actually planning to see if almost 2/3 of our growth could come from the innovative, the newer part of our portfolio. And that is critical because one thing is, of course, just making the next year, but the other one is laying the groundwork for the next decade and a sustainable growth that will stack up against competition and, of course, deliver on the promise of our clinical trials to patients in the real world long term. So this is what we have to do, and that's back to Venkat said, if something keeps me alive, awake at night, it is that we're not fast enough, and that also because of COVID, we don't switch our portfolio quickly enough, and then there will be a little bit stuck with legacy products that are exposed to competition more, that are exposed to price pressure more, etc., and that do not deliver on improving patients' lives as we should and could. So this is the urgency I think we should all feel to be successful with the launches. And if I can have the next slide there. That brings me then to sort of what's the focus and how do we deliver on that upgrade and what are we wanting to do, and that is all in the game plan, and in SEMEA we are not trying to do anything different out of the BA. It is about succeeding with the digital move to digital. It is about frontline excellence and tying everything together. And here you also now have IO Engage as a tool for that. And it's really, whether it's nurse educators being fantastically important, whether it's the field market access, if it's a sales organization or it's a field medical, that all just has to come together in that frontline excellence. And then launches that's the make or break for us, as you just saw also in the growth outlook. And we have quite a few of them. So if we can just have the next slide. Then you will see here that we have more than 40 launches by the end of this year. And you have some critical ones here that we really want to be part of, support in every possible way. And the fact that you have, in half a year, 3 critical launches is amazing. And I think we had hoped to have some of them, and I know you are planning to maybe have hybrids. It looks as if it could be fully virtual. In the future, we'll probably have hybrids stay with us, so we get the best of both worlds. But the fact that you're able to pull up an event like this gives me a lot of hope that we actually can be also very successful in a virtual setting. So if I can move on to the next slide. And this is maybe just thinking about virtual. Right now, virtual has been for us a way to compensate for lack of live face-to-face engagement. I think in the future, it's hopefully an accelerator that can enable us to reach the millions of patients within our geography. Right now, we are only touching the tip of the iceberg in South Africa, in Namibia, with our innovative products. We are counting some of them in thousands instead of million patients, and it should for sure be a much bigger reach. So digital really is a chance to multiply our efforts. We are only 1,000 people in Bamiak, and we have more than 1.2 billion people living here. So if we have to have any hope to really reach out there in an accelerated way, digital will for sure stay with us. And also just imagine all the patients that we haven't touched yet within an area such as obesity. So I'm very excited about what we're learning now in digital, and you could say longer term, the most important is not the short-term compensation for face-to-face, is that this becomes a sort of a way of gearing all our efforts across the geography. So this, let's keep learning together here. That's really my key point, and let's think hybrid also in the future. So let's move on to the next slide. And that's a little bit more specific on how you fit into the commercial direction of from the BA. So if I can have that, then we have looked at what are sort of the must-win battles of the BA for the coming years. And one that fits very well with you in South Africa, that's how we within insulin can uplift the basal market share performance through access optimization, but of course also field execution. And you have a market share around 20% in basal, and that just speaks to the opportunity we have here. This is the biggest segment also in South Africa. If we will, the Sultify launch can lift that, and we've seen that many other countries receive it, that we now have better access for, then of course that's a huge growth opportunity for you as an affiliate. So this is the BA of must-win battle, but for sure it's also one for you. The other is GLP-1, and you will have the CV opportunity for Victoza first. Run with that. It's a strong differentiator, but you will also have SEMA coming, and who would have thought that soon we will have to have the positive dilemma of launching Ozempic, and then you will be debating with the commercial team here, how do we one day even optimize that together with Belsus, the first GLP-1 in a tablet. So it's a whole new world opening up for you, and you know that the data is just phenomenal, and the uptake in other countries is phenomenal. You might have heard, or Venkat and I at least heard, that we are taking 90% of all new patients to GLP-1 in a place like Canada. So there's a lot of promise here for all of us. And this used to be, many years away. Now we are talking about within a matter of months or a year max before we're out there. Obesity is also an area that, particularly for South Africa, is absolutely critical. I just learned that you have the second highest number of patients with obesity in our 75 countries. Only Egypt has more in our geography, with 16 million patients in South Africa. So this opportunity is just phenomenal. We were concerned, let's say in a country like Turkey, would people pay out of pocket to begin with? And yes, they will. It's a good product that really makes a difference. So that launch we are all very eager to follow. And again, this is an area where you will get growth without cannibalizing anything in your portfolio. So that just adds to that double-digit growth opportunity you have as an affiliate. And then finally, Biopharm that just keeps on performing strongly. You have now top competition, but you're also making a lot of really good patient-focused initiatives for Novo 7, and you have that fantastic Nordisk launch opportunity that you're now really driving. So I am very excited that you are placed perfectly in terms of actions within our BA must-win battles, and they fit down your priorities very well, and we see that you have plans in place to deliver. So that's excellent. Can I have the next slide? And that's a little bit of closing remarks. I just want to sort of recap when we look at you in not brand by brand, but what is it all about? But keep being bold. You have been that this year. You have been battling with COVID. You have found ways to stay operational, keep bringing the products out there, but also keep being active and daring new things and learning as you go along. And one thing we really like is that you're very active sharing what you do. We read your newsletter with great interest and your stories also within the affiliate on learnings. So that's great. And it's very important for us that our front-running affiliates share and inspire other affiliates across the company. Outperforming competition in digital space, of course, is part of that we keep raising the bar, because in the beginning people joined because maybe it was new. Now we really have to work on attention span in digital. So keep evolving that. Launch excellence we just talked about, that is the #1 priority for many of you next year, but also being a preferred supplier and partner in the public market. And we just talked about the MOU that you've been working on for 4 years and that you closed last year on the whole empowerment issue, and that's great. And we are hopeful for the tender coming soon. We will not celebrate before we have any news, but both being at the affordability focused part of the market and the high end is just critical for you, and you're doing just that, which is something that we take a lot of pride in and are happy to support. So if I can then have my last slide before I hand back, then we got a message from our P&O colleagues also around New Year, and they had come up with a quote that I liked a lot, and that sort of ties back to John Lennon a little bit, that all these surprises are initially frustrating, but they're also what keeps us innovating and keeps us learning, and in a sense keeps our job interesting. So I have learned a lot this year. I can see that you are also learning and adjusting very, very fast, and you're doing it as a team, and that is very powerful. So it was great having the chance to engage with you this way. I of course cannot wait to meet you on the ground. Venkat and I are planning for that. I hope it will be within a few months. Some of you might know that I have had an experience of COVID myself, so hopefully that will allow some earlier travel, but of course the situation has to be comfortable on the ground also for our stakeholders. So with that, I just want to thank you for your great efforts and for being such a strong team. See you soon and have more discussion as part of the Q&A later in the day. Thank you. And over to you, Lego and Venkat.
Thank you very much, Emil. And there you have it. Keep on learning and keep being bold. I mean, we had great updates from both Venkat and Emil. I mean, let's just take a moment here. Not only did we achieve 519 million DKK, we punched that target. We are among the top 5 affiliates in BAMIAC, and we have the most excellent CDC performance. Please, please applaud yourself, because you did this. When we worked collectively as a team, we did this. So well done to everybody, and may it be such a successful year again in 21. We have actually got a very good lineup of speakers for you. I've got 2 videos that are coming up, both from IO and Samia. But to top it all off, later on in the day, we have a guest speaker. He is regarded as the most phenomenal speaker, not only in South Africa, but the world. Type your questions and to Anel, and if you have comments, send them through to Anel, and we will attend to them later. Like I said, we will be bringing you into the picture as we go along, but please also remember to keep your videos on throughout the meeting, even when we go for breaks. Like I said earlier, that the great achievements and the results that we've seen, we did not just do on our own. We had, of course, great support from the business area, but we also had great support from both SEMEA and IO. Up next are two video messages. One from Mike Duster, one from Mike Duster, and then the other would be from the SVP of SEMEA. Straight after that, we will be going into break. And when you go on break, please make sure that your video does stay on, because we do still need to see activity with our virtual audience. But you've been great so far. Thank you very much for your participation, and send us those questions. Up next, Mike's video.
Dear colleagues in South Africa, 2020 was a tough year. The COVID crisis was and still is a major challenge. All of us across Novo Nordisk had to find ways to reinvent our operating models in order to succeed and reach our patients. I'm very proud of how we've responded together. We ensured continued supply, employee safety, and to be a very good partner for our various stakeholders around the world. I am in particular very proud of the outstanding results you were able to achieve in South Africa despite the crisis, and I should say also despite the recession in the South African economy. You're building some great momentum with 10% increase in sales growth and with the continued journey to grow market share by pushing share of growth upwards. It is a pleasure to see that your share of growth with diabetes is continuing to trend upwards. Congratulations. When we now enter 2021 and plan for the future, it is time for you to build on your experiences from 2020. You should continue to outperform your competitors. And to achieve that, you will need to do three things in particular. First and foremost, you need to sustain successful product launches. Our pipeline is our future. Getting our launches right means reaching millions of new patients. With your upcoming launches of Saxenda and Salsify in Q1, hopefully followed by Ozempic a bit later, I know you're on the right track. Secondly, you will further need to achieve frontline excellence in this changing environment. We're in a battle with our competitors every single day, and if we're not excellent, they're going to beat us. So please outperform your competitors. And thirdly, in everything you do, you have to learn to be more virtual and digital. Remote detailing, webinars, virtual launches will be the new normal. We have invested heavily on IO Engage. Use it to the best of its potential. That will differentiate you from the competition. So now it's time to get ready to maximize these opportunities, and of course, without ever compromising on quality or business ethics. And please continue your great work also on clinical trials and diversity. In short, keep on going, South Africa. Thank you.
Hi everyone. 2021, we are finally here. We are all very well aware that 2020 was extremely challenging year for businesses, for individuals, for families and patients across the globe. It was, I believe, one of the most difficult years we have collectively faced in the last several decades. I'm very grateful to all of you for enormous efforts you made to quickly adapt to new ways of working while continuing to serve the many millions that rely on us. I hope that you had a very good, well-deserved break over the holiday period and your batteries are rested and fully charged for the year ahead. Despite the challenges we faced last year, we established great momentum in SEMEA, a relatively new region which is critical for IO and Novo Nordisk growth. I'm excited about the opportunities we have across our large, diverse region. Out of 110 product launches planned for next year, 63 of them will take place in SEMEA. So we have a big part to play. The world has changed, but our purpose not. providing life-changing medicines and treatment to more patients is our core. And I encourage all of you to stay focused on this. I'm looking forward to being able to visit you in your markets as soon as possible. Until then, stay safe, look after yourself, your families, your friends, and our patients.
Welcome back, and I trust you enjoyed your short coffee break. We are so excited to still have you with us. Please just wave, show us your thumbs up, and tell us how you're doing. If you have questions, remember that you must inbox Anel at ABRG on the team's contacts, so that she can then let us know which questions are going to be coming through, because we will be pulling you to participate later on during the Q&A. We all heard the great results, and we all heard what the must-win battles are for the year ahead and the years to come from our leadership, as well as from IO and SMEA. Up next, though, we need to now understand how do we localize those priorities, and we are now going to reflect, first of all, on the wins for 2020 through the various business units, and we are also going to look at what the key priorities are from the various business units. Up next is Aisha. Aisha is going to be giving us the update on the legal and compliance, and then after that we will hear from the rest of the management team. I would now like to introduce Aisha's video, and then she'll be up.
Aisha Sidat Sibandi, Director of Legal and Compliance.
Good day, everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. Thank you, Leko, for the introduction. So, for the year 2021, legal and compliance, let me start off with what happened in 2020. We engaged all of you in lots and lots of interesting and varied trainings, both digital, interactive, and based on actual case studies that were happening in field in South Africa. This resulted in solutions being formulated that empowered the frontline teams to move patient care forward. In 2021, we will continue on this path of swiftly and efficiently dealing with frontline teams' needs, which in turn will ensure that we can advance patient care and also customer care, which is what our intention is for this year. Our plan is to continue to empower you to make decisions grounded in our BCF, to allow you to become role models in pharma, so that you too can become known as ethics ambassador in the pharmaceutical industry. So, following in the footsteps of our compliance ambassadors, as you all know, this was a pilot project this year in the legal department. However, given the success of this project, it's now going to become a permanent arm in our department, and it has become a shining example in our region as well. For that, I would like to extend a big thank you to Venkat and to Panos for their insistence and support on this program. The focus for 2020 as well was in respect of empowering our colleagues on the digital platform. Going into 2021, we intend to continue on this, but we also intend to focus more on our customer preferences. How we intend to do that is by learning from your interactions in field on what their preferences are. And together with you, we will come up with innovative solutions on how to address those needs together. This year, we will also commence with the implementation and monitoring of our projects. Two of the most exciting of those projects being the EEIP and our C4Z projects. Those, Venkat has mentioned that previously in his presentation, and obviously we will continue with Cooper, which will become all of our friend, and we will embrace this in the true Novo Nordisk style. We would also like to extend a big thank you to everyone for your positive feedback on all the trainings that have happened this year. For all of you attending the Coffees with Compliance, and also once safe, we will introduce the Lunches with Legal this year as well. All of these trainings have led to 100% compliance on the BE KPIs at the end of 2020, and almost 100% BE engagement in the Pulse survey. We also want to welcome back everyone, and we would like to ask everyone to please remember to lift as we rise with the power of one. Thank you very much, Leko.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for that great update. I must say I do enjoy the Coffee with Legal. Up until that, business ethics and the whole discussion around compliance was quite uncomfortable, and you've made it very easy. Thanks to you and CJ for that.
Thank you so much, Leko.
Thank you. And then Aisha, of course, will be back to answer some questions later on during the Q&A. For now, I would like to call upon Donovan to give us the Biopharm and Insulin Business Unit update. Let's go to Don's intro.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Novo Nordisk Company Day in South Africa. Also, welcome to the Bamiak management team in Turkey, and really welcome to everybody. But for me, it's a bit of a disappointment. I always used to treasure and enjoy the company days because we can see everybody in person and we can celebrate the successes of the previous year. And 2020 was no doubt a very tough year for all of us. And the biggest impact that COVID-19 had was no doubt in the Biopharm team. But there were some highlights as well. And as Venkat has already alluded, the Nordiflex virtual launch was the very first virtual launch that we had in Novo Nordisk, South Africa, and done with great success and great learnings that we had from this, because we know that Omnitrope has come to the market, the first biosimilar in South Africa, and they've come in at a price at less than 20% to the Norditropin price that we've got in the market. And their penetration has been rife in the first couple of months. So how are we going to do this? We're going to defend our market with Norditrope and Nordiflex going forward with early referrals and market expansion. And as I speak, I've just been on the phone earlier to Chantal, and the team is vigorously out there detailing and updating and skilling the pharmacist on how to convert patients from Nordilex to Nordiflex. So good luck out there, team. Then COVID-19 really had a severe impact on the hemophilia market. And patients couldn't get access to therapy and so forth. And I'm very proud of the team and the medical team and the support from Zurich and Paul Huggins and his team with the introduction of the home treatment program. So this was rolled out towards the end of last year with great success in a couple of pilot sites. And we're looking forward to supporting hemophilia patients going forward with the introduction of this program. But how are we going to change and take Novo 7 back to growth as we had it in 2019? Is to develop the acquired hemophilia market, get Novo 7 as first choice for all surgeries when they do happen, and of course remain relevant in the hemophilia B market. Then moving over to the basal bolus team and highlight some priorities. Zoltify last year in January, Venkat and Emil announced to us that we need to launch Zoltify towards the end of the year. So, of course, there was no groundwork done previously, and I really want to applaud the team, from Shalini to the medical team, regulatory, market access team, and the sales team. Everybody pulled together, the finance team, logistics, everybody, to get this product ready and to get the market ready in such a short space of time. And of course, it was compounded with COVID-19 that impacted how we were doing business. And suddenly we were planning to do speaker trainings, and we had to convert to virtual. We had to convert ad boards to virtual, but with great success. And Tobek and her team really did well there. So you're all invited for the 23rd of January to see the best-in-class virtual launch with Zoltify. At the moment, as everybody's announced, I'm purple right now. But next week, Saturday, I will be pink for Zoltify. So come January last year, we had to grow Tresiba with 90% to achieve our AB. But guys, you did a fantastic job, and you came in at 109%, 5 million ZAR over the 2019 performance. And I'm looking forward for the priorities of this year is to continue the high market penetration that we saw in 2020. Now, we know that insulin is a life-saving drug, and patients that get COVID-19 cannot survive without it. They need insulin to survive. And as a result of this, COVID-19, in a very strange way, was a friend towards Novo Rapid, because we came in with an index of 112%, 12 million rand over 2019 sales. So well done in making sure that the doctors chose Novo Rapid as first choice to treat these patients in hospital. And our priority is to sustain the market leadership in the bolus market with Novo Rapid in 2021. Now, the premix team and the highlights from 2020 was just phenomenal. In February, I was making a joke with Tom and I said, Novomix is going to grow like trees this year. And lo and behold, it did. We came in with an index of 111%. And sit down and listen to this. We achieved 31 million rand more sales in 2020 versus 2019. Not only that, Ryzodeg came in at 97%, but it still grew by 9 million ZAR over the previous year. So combined, it was a 40 million rand growth over 2019. And that is why we had a dominant market share growth in the premix segment. And this contributed handsomely to get our share of growth over the market share in 2020. So well done to all of you. The priorities for 2021 is very simple. Sustain and grow the Novomix market leadership. Make sure Ryzodeg is our first choice in intensification. And if we do this, we will be a dominant player in 2021 and sustain our market share growth over the market share as we have done it this year. So guys, thank you very much. Good luck for 2021. And thank you for the support from Bamiak and from Venkat and the whole management team. Good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leko.
Thank you so much, Don. And I just wanted to say we will be pink with you next week. So we all in this together. Please just give Don some pink energy where you are. Send us a thumbs up. Send us some applause, because we are actually feeding off your energy and we hope that you're finding the meeting interesting so far. With that, we've had great updates from both Don and Aisha, and are now going to switch gears a bit and go to connect remotely to Zanele for the P&O update. And after Zanele, we will be chatting to Lula. So Zanele and Lula, welcome. It's good to see you.
Hi, good morning,
Thank you,
Leko.
Leko.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, you look lovely with the purple theme. Nithya will come on and tell us a bit more about that later. So how are you finding the meeting so far? Let's start with you,
It's
Zanele.
exciting, Lego. It's very exciting, Lego. I'm in the office. The energy is buzzing.
Yeah. And how about you, Lula?
It is the same, yeah. It's very nice to be here, actually, yeah. Looking forward to our presentation, yeah.
Yeah. So remember, audience, that you must continue sending us your questions to Anel ABRG through the chat box. And up next, then we will be getting the P&O update from Zanele. And Zanele would then, Lula will follow after Zanele. So over to you, Zanele.
Thank you, Lego. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see all of you. Like I said earlier, I'm in the office and the energy is infectious. It's good to see the Bamiak leadership team on the call as well, and welcome. And I wish all of you the best in 2021. Looking back into 2020, I would like to thank the local P&O team for all their hard work and efforts. And we also appreciate the support from the Bamiak P&O in 2020, which was a very unusual year, as most speakers have alluded to. We had to learn and find new ways of working flexibly. Our multiple channel strategy was fast-tracked. We also looked forward every month to our P&O newsletter, to which both Emil and Venkat have already alluded to. We had the Culture Cafe, where we launched our Novo Nordisk way behaviors, the growth mindset, and we had various other discussions of interest at the time. In the Culture Champion Award, which we had quarterly, every single one of you had an opportunity to nominate those colleagues whom you believed displayed the Novo Nordisk way behaviors the best, while focusing on cross-functional collaboration for a common goal. And one of my favorites, a weekly #StrongerTogether conversations, where myself, Venkat, and members of the management team met with every single one of our employees every week in groups, just to listen and hear from you about your experiences from a personal and professional perspective. We got to understand the challenges that you overcome every day We were also able to ask you what additional support you required from the organization to carry out your daily tasks. I must say, I was truly inspired and deeply humbled by your resilience and positive mindset during our weekly conversations. And therefore, it was very hard towards the end of the year when we did the 2020 engagement survey, where you gave a resounding 91% high engagement score in the middle of a pandemic, which was truly remarkable. And for that, I would like to thank every single one of you for your resilience, your commitment, your positive mindset in 2020 to ensure that we continued to make a positive difference to our patients. And it is these characteristics that will stand us in good stead as we move on into 2021. Now, let us look at the 2021 key priorities. As both Emil and Mike Duster mentioned on frontline focus or frontline excellence, for us, we will ensure that we develop those capabilities for the frontline competencies that will help us operate in the new reality with COVID-19 and beyond, and where we ensure that we continue with our best-in-class launches. Your growth and development is important to us, and we will ensure that in our leadership and talent development, we continue to ensure that we have a robust talent pipeline, which will help us succeed in the future. Diversity and inclusion remains important in our kind of setting, where we continue to embrace different perspectives and different views with an aim to ultimately have a higher reach to our many customers, our many patients, and the multiple stakeholders who themselves are very diverse. With that, I look forward to our continued collaboration in 2021. We continue to work together as one team with one plan and focused on one goal, because together there is nothing we cannot achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zanele, for that update. And I must say, 6 years ago when I joined Novo Nordisk, Rihanna, hi, show us a thumbs up. Rihanna said to me, welcome to the best company to work for. And I almost rolled my eyes. And then consistently, year after year, I must tell you, Zanele, that that statement has been affirmed throughout. So well done actually to the entire management team, because we really feel cared for the employees, and we appreciated the Stronger Together chats that you guys had with us. Up next is finance and operations, and I'm handing over to Lula. Lula, over to you. We're looking forward to some good news. I don't know, hint, we did well. So I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot or if that's coming up later. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Leko, and good morning to everyone. Molweni, Abshen. Before I give you the update in terms of the priorities 21 for finance and operation, firstly, I would like to acknowledge the hard and dedication by the finance team local in supporting the affiliate to achieve the results that we in 2020. As Vanguard has already presented and alluded, that we had both a double growth on sales, the top line, as well as double-digit growth on the top line as well. And those results wouldn't have been possible without all the support from the team. And there has also been a great collaboration between finance and operations, together with other departments as well, mentioning the few, quality, and the line of business commercial. Coming to the 2021 priorities, finance and operation priorities are actually aligned both to the local affiliate strategy as well as the global 2025 strategy, which is actually covered amongst 5 levels. The first one is business performance. Our role as finance and operation is to ensure that we support the business unit on its goal of a double-digit growth. The second lever of our strategy is to create value, ensuring that we deliver the best finance operation. How do we do that? By ensuring that there is an uninterrupted product supply of our products to our patients in the market. Secondly, we will do that by making sure that we drive efficiency. All the systems that are in it must be ensured that are in line with the global. For example, in 2021, we are looking at replacing our local pre-approval system with a global system, Cooper, which will take care of the local procurement element, as well as SAPA grants. The third lever is the people culture. There is no way that we will be able to achieve all these priorities without investing in growing the people in this department. So my priority as the head of department is to ensure that there is best practice sharing. We need to ensure that we learn from us within BAMIAC. We also learn from our colleagues from the commercial as well. The fourth priority for us is digital. We need to ensure that we leverage best digital solution. In 2020, there were key projects, initiatives that were rolled out in South African affiliate. And there was a great support from our commercial IT, Francis, who is based in Kenya. But those projects wouldn't have been successful without his support. Well done to him, and the great collaboration between commercial IT and also our local commercial colleagues. Beaver speaks to the house in order. Ladies and gentlemen, house in order is nothing else but a license to operate as this affiliate. Our role as finance and operations is to make sure that we do not transgress our internal as well as global policies. We need to make sure that we don't have any either external or internal low level of compliance. So in a nutshell, gentlemen, our priorities in 2021 is to create value as finance and operation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lula, for that update. It's a mouthful and very important, and I hope you grasped all of that. If you do have questions, of course, remember that there's going to be a Q&A later on. Thank you to you both. We'll be joining up with you again later during the Q&A session. And now we are moving on to the GLP-1 update. I'm sure you're not really wondering. I mean, it's obvious because we've been talking about this for a while. But in case you are wondering why we're wearing these purple scarves and purple tie and our blood is purple along with our eyes, it's because we are getting ready to launch Saxenda. And up next would be Nithya, who's going to give us an update about the GLP-1 business. And we first go to her intro and then she'll be up on screen.
Nithya Naidu, Director of the GLP-1 Business Unit.
Good day, everybody. I hope you are feeling the energy that we are feeling in this studio. For me, it's a combination of CNN and E-News, and then Leko brings in a touch of Bollywood as well. So, yeah, it's a unique experience, but I hope you are enjoying. Let me start by reflecting on the GLP-1 business unit for 2020. So, we kicked off the year with the establishment of the GLP-1 business unit. Our goals were clear: maintain Victoza's leadership in the GLP-1 market and set the stage for a Saxenda launch. And so we hit the road running. And then came COVID, then came Trulicity in the market. But I'll tell you what, this team rose above all of the challenges. We delivered. We fed off each other's energies. We picked each other up through the lows. We became agile and we dived into a solutions approach. And for that, we delivered 6% above budget, 41 million DKK for 2021. For 2020, with a 17% growth over 2019. To my team, well done, and a great performance overall. But it doesn't end there. 2021, we have set ourselves very ambitious goals. We have our key priorities, number one being launch excellence. Yes, for the first time at Novo Nordisk, a business unit will be executing 3 launches. We've got our Saxenda launch in February, our Victoza CV launch in March, and the long-awaited Ozempic for Q3 2021. That is the superior GLP-1 in the market, and we look forward to bringing that product to our patients in South Africa. Number 2, market shares. With market share excellence comes our achievement of sales versus target. But I'm sure my team is aiming for much more than that. Yes, knowing your competition and outperforming them will certainly give us that success. And thirdly, I think we learned a lot from last year with the COVID challenges that we've had, and we've come up with innovative ways of reaching our customers and patients. We will continue to excel in this portfolio, reach more customers, reach more patients, and deliver our patient care. I thank you, and I wish each and every one of you all of the success for 2021. Thank you, Leko.
Thank you so much, Nithya, and thank you for participating in this meeting. Remember that if you have questions or if you have comments, please drop Anel a message on Teams at ABRG, and then we will call you on back on studio. We will pull up your question live during the Q&A session. We're going back to our team that's joining us virtually, and up next is going to be Tom and Tobeka. Tom is giving us the patient access update, and Tobeka, of course, is giving us the CMRQ update. Hello, Tom, and hello, Tobeka. Lovely to see you both.
Hello, Leko. Hello, Tobeka.
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, Tom.
Day.
Hi, Leko.
Good.
And how are you finding the meeting so far? Let's go.
Meeting is going well so far.
Okay. All right. So remember, guys, that you can ask whatever questions you have through to Anel. As soon as all the presenters are done, we will be coming back to you with a Q&A. Now, we've had great news so far, and some challenges, of course, that we need to improve on, and for the ambition that is set for 2021. So any great news from you, Tom, you'll kick us off, and then we will move from you to Tobeka for the CMRQ update. For now, let's start with you, Tom, to hear what patient access was up to.
Thank you so much, Leko, and thanks everyone. It's a pleasure to be meeting with you today. Quick update from patient access. I think, again, thank you very much, because we're all working for access, but our job is cut out. It's basically to improve access both in the private sector. As Venkat has alluded, and Emil, that we are fortunate to be able to be playing in both sectors, and of course to improve the corporate citizenship of Novo Nordisk in the public eye. And I think in 3 areas we think we've done well last year in 2020. We have managed to optimize our modern insulin, our legacy product. We defended our current access in the modern insulins, so of course, and IGI is work in progress. We have had some improvement with our and our GLP as well, and of course, without forgetting optimizing our biopharm access, our biopharm products. So we'll continue, I think, going in 2021 to focus in improving those opportunities. And as far as our launch product is concerned, Emil and Venkat alluded to the launch product being part of the organization. We have made some gains with Zoltify. We started the year, I think, with some, as far as access is concerned, Discovery, which is a key player and a trendsetter in the private sector. They've opened up access for Zoltify, which we're excited about, and a few other schemes have followed up. We do have some challenges, of course, with the med schemes, and we'll continue to work on those. The public sector, we've done very well with the tender business. Thanks very much, I think, for the team. We have exceeded our plans for last year by almost 167% versus AB. And we are awaiting the new tender at the moment, which will kick off probably around about May. But we're also optimistic that we'll do well in that area. And again, the EI, which Venkat has alluded to, I think you'll be proud to be associated with the company, which is making a difference and being a corporate citizenship in the citizen in the country. And I think all this would not have been approved without achieved without the cross collaboration of everyone. I want to take this opportunity really to thank the team, the Access team, and all the functions without exception. To have us, and also to take into account the support and guidance given by MIAC team in all these efforts, with the EIP and the guidance, and also helping us and guiding us in mitigating the prices and taking up are pricing cases forward and giving us the guidance. So I'm very confident that 2021, we will go into 21, and the Power One is going to sustain us. And again, I think we'll have another phenomenal 2021. With that in mind, I'd like to say thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Tom, for that. Thank you so much, Tom, for that update. And congratulations, of course, to the team for the great achievements as well. And now we would like to go over to Thobeka to hear an update on the CMRQ. Thobeka, over to you.
Thank you, Leko. Good morning, everyone. It's almost noon. I would like to thank the entire team for all the successes achieved in 2020. Also thanking Emel and the business area team, their contribution, which was pivotal to our success in 2020. As I look back at 2020, I will start with the Clinical Development Center. If you can move on to that slide. With the clinical team, we are proud to share that in 2020, all retention and recruitment targets for all trials were met, noting that our contribution as South Africa is 11% of the CEMEA clinical trial load. In 2021, we will be part of building the nation of new therapeutic areas and new products as we participate in new trials, which will, of course, include some of those new therapeutic areas, such as Alzheimer's disease and NASH, and even the long-awaited once-weekly long-acting insulin. Of that, in 2021, we will be participating in a total of 3 trials versus 10 we had in 2020. And it's important that we resource these trials adequately. As we move on to the medical affairs team, what's important to highlight there, if you move on to that slide, is that our medical affairs team, through participation in the phase 4 clinical trial, our national PI or principal investigator co-authored a publication on ARISE, a phase 4 study. And if you look at the number of meetings, either by medical or co-hosted by medical and our colleagues in patient access, commercial and events, we managed to host more than 100 meetings attended by more than 6,000 healthcare practitioners. Amongst those meetings were 6 advisory boards, which garnered insights from 70 key opinion leaders and 9 speaker trainings. But then moving on to the priorities related to medical affairs, it's important we allocate resources adequately. Launch excellence has been repeated many times, and medical's role is pivotal as we prepare to launch Zalpai, Saxenda, or Ozempic. It's also important to enhance our digital platforms to reach as many of our healthcare practitioners as possible, and also to ensure that the molecules that are already in the market are supported by a strong scientific position as we focus on GLP-1 advocacy or even on maintaining the insulins and biopharm products in the market. Moving on to regulatory affairs, the unprecedented number of SAPRA approvals has already been shared. But in addition to those, our pharmacovigilance and quality assurance teams ensured audit readiness for the whole company, as evidenced by the positive outcomes of the audits listed on the slide. Looking at priorities for this particular team, what is critical is that we continue to broaden access for patients in South Africa by submitting dossiers for Novo's Nordisk innovative therapies, in this case, Ribelsus and Novo 8. But in addition to that, we continue to maintain the life cycle of our product by submitting all relevant product and site variations, and at the same time, convert all our dossiers into an electronic and identify a local partner that could act as a laboratory for post-importation testing. Please move on to the patient support program. With this team, the success achieved in the midst of COVID is phenomenal. A total of 5,700 new patients. This is just new patients, not the follow-up and not the education to the healthcare practitioners. A total of new patients were educated by both our internal and external educators. This team also ensured that 2 online platforms went live as we prepare for the launch of Saxenda. And in 2021, it is important that we continue to enhance digitization of our patient education platforms and processes. And also key for this team is to ensure the optimization of the use of the online platforms in the form of Truth About Weight and Saxenda Care in preparation and in support of Saxenda being in the market. With those words, I once again thank the entire team and encourage us to continue to work as one team as we contribute to the one company goal for 2021. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tobeka, for that update. A mouthful indeed and lots to look forward to. Remember, we really would love to hear from you. We're looking forward to getting your questions. So please send Anel ABRG a note on the chat for your questions, and so that we can pull you in shortly. We'll be starting with our Q&A once we've heard from our BAMIAC management team. So I please need you to please send us those questions through. We would love to hear from you. A lot was said. Send those questions to ABRG, to Anel on the chat, and then we will be able to pull you live into studio. Don't be afraid. A lot of good things happened. A lot was said. Maybe it's just a question that's not related to what has been discussed. You're wondering about, your mental health state and what sort of support you would be getting, given that COVID was draining on all of us. So please drop us a question, and we will be able to just pull those questions in and ask our panelists that are going to come on immediately after this. So now we're going to switch gears a bit and move over to our BAMIAC management team, who are joining us also virtually all the way from Turkey. Good day to you all. It's lovely to see you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great.
Hello, thank you.
Hi. So we look forward to hearing from you. We've heard from Emil earlier about the priorities for the region. And we've also heard from the South African management team in terms of what the actual various business unit priorities are going to be. So now we're looking forward to understanding what the region, what the business area priorities are, and how we can align ourselves to what you're going to be telling us today. For the benefit of our audience joining us at home then, the sequence in which we're going to run today would be that we will first hear from Anivan. Anivan is the Senior Director for Commercial Affairs and Strategy. Straight after Anivan will be Tule to give us an update on the P&O priorities, and then we will switch over to Emel. Emel is going to discuss the CMRQ priorities, and we will then hear from Panos on the legal and compliance update, and last but certainly not least, Mikkel is going to give us an update on finance and operations. Without further delay of time, of course, I just want to remind our audience at home, use the ABRG chat and send Anel a message to ask your question. There's never been a greater opportunity than right now for you to make use of, because we are joined by a huge range of speakers that we've never ever had before. We always joined by business area, but not all of them right now in one place like we are taking advantage of right now. So use that opportunity and ask your questions. And later, of course, we do have a surprise guest, but first, let's hand over to Anivan to give us the commercial affairs and strategy priorities. Over to you, Anivan.
Thank you so much. Are you able to hear me?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. So first of all, I'd like to thank Venkat and the team for putting together this amazing event, especially in these very difficult times. This is my first exciting in Bamiak, and I'm really thrilled that it's with South Africa. Now, given the time that was allocated to us, all of us directors decided to have two words that we will hope will resonate with our respective functions in the affiliate. So my two words are launch and access. Why these two words? So before going there, I just want to give a shout out to the fact that this year we are celebrating 100 years of the discovery of insulin, which of course led to the momentous journey that Arthur Croft made to buy the patent of Frederick Banting in Canada for $1. From there, look where we are. We're launching sophisticated new insulins and also other technologically advanced drugs. And this is quite a far cry from purifying insulin from pigs. So innovation is very well enshrined in the DNA of our company, of Novo Nordisk. And we really need to strive to bring innovation to our patients in every possible way. This year, we have three opportunities with Zoltify, with Saxenda, and with Ozempic. And each launch is really strongly in line with our must-win battles for Bamiak, which are, as Emil mentioned, to lift the basal market share, to really make the most of the SEMA synergy and the SEMA portfolio. Of course, with Saxenda, we want to expand our footprint in obesity. And to succeed with all of these launches, we really need to be very clear, really crystal clear and perfect with our positioning, with our customer engagement, and cross-functional collaboration. My second word is access. Launching is one thing, but to be really successful with launching, you must have the optimal access. And my team and I are here to help you do both. Launch excellently with optimal access. I wish you all the best. And now I'm going to hand it over to my friend and colleague, Tulay, who's going to talk to you about the P&O words. Thanks.
Thank you, Anirvan. Thank you very much for that update. As he correctly said, we are now going to get a P&O update from Tulay. Hello, Tulay.
Me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's
Okay,
good day in South
great.
Africa. I think we are an hour apart. So yeah, when 5 minutes before the end of the morning, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm really very excited because this is the first cycle meeting I am joining this year. I can just, feel the energy, and I realize that I have really missed joining the cycle meetings. I hope to just, have all of you again in Istanbul in a short period of time. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Last year, as many of you know, the P&O teams played an instrumental role to overcome the challenges that COVID brought into our lives. They paid utmost attention to keep all of you informed, managed the internal communication very well, took many initiatives to ensure well-being of our employees and increase the retention. And they did their best to equip you with the right tools. So I thank you very much to Zanele and the team first. They did a great job and for their great efforts in 2020. And I am sure they will continue doing great in 2021. So I have two words. The first one is the frontline focus. As many of you heard, just from the speakers, from Mike, from Emil, from Venkat, and also from Zanele, there is a frontline excellence term just we are emphasizing a lot. I call last year as a test drive year, sort of, because when our lives changed after mid-March, both personally and professionally, we have seen that how quickly we are adapting to the new reality, how agile we are, and we have tested working in the virtual environment before we plan and defined our strengths and the skills that we need to build. So in this new reality, frontline excellence is one of the top priorities for us to outperform competition. So we talk about IO Engage, we talk about digitalization, we talk about multi-channel engagements and commercial excellence. And we are also talking about the different channels and platforms. When we say IO Engage is just a tool, but we need to have the right behaviors and right skills in place to operate via these new channels and to be successful operating via IO Engage as well. So virtual working will not go away from our lives, but we need to strengthen our skills to operate in this new digital world. So it is bringing us new skills, new awareness. So my second word is related to development. So we need to keep our frontline field force to hold the best virtual HCP interactions virtually, increase our effectiveness in the remote detailing. So when it comes to our FSMs, we need to just, help them to coach virtually without sensing expressions of their teams or without seeing the body language. So those are the areas we are working on to help our field force and also our field force managers to equip them with the new tools. But it is not only with the field force, and we are also just, talking about emotional intelligence, collaboration, ensuring collaboration in the virtual world, and leading change with our management teams. So those are the areas that we will be focusing on to uplift our skills, both in the front line and in the management teams. And we will do our best to equip you with the right tools to differentiate you from the others in the field and to be the good ambassador of Novo in the field. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and please feel free to ask your questions. Now I will hand over to my colleague, Emel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tulay. Before ML comes on, I just want to remind our audiences, please send your questions to ABRG Anel on the chat so that we are able to pose your questions live to our panelists who are here with us all the way from Turkey. Up next then, ML, over to you. Lovely to see you and welcome.
So, Salvador, South Africa, I hope I pronounced it right. It's really it's very exciting for me to join you because I also remember that the last country I visited before the lockdown, or let's say the COVID crisis, was actually South Africa. So I'm so grateful to that opportunity, and I still have that taste in my mind. With this, I would really want, first of all, to just echo all the nice words that was delivered by Venkat, Emil, and also Tobeka. And I would like to start by a heartfelt congratulations to the CMRQ PV team in South Africa, because it was really an unprecedented year in 2020 and all the that you have done, especially in clinical trials and the CDC in South Africa. I know it's still not officially announced, but I can also just add that South Africa CDC actually scored the highest performance index in CIMEA. It's a huge achievement that really worth recognition. So hats off to the South African CDC countries. I'm very proud of the hard work you've done, even during COVID-19 crisis. It was really a great work, also supported by our medical, regulatory, and PV and quality colleagues. The other thing that I also want to just very quickly mention is SAFRA has been a very tough regulatory agency for years, known across the industry. And what you have achieved in 2020 in terms of getting all the regulatory approvals was absolutely phenomenal. So you, Gentry, and your team, I think you have done an outstanding job by bringing all the innovations, the therapies to our patients. And now it's time for our medical colleagues to take that torch and actually try to make sure that those innovative treatments are actually accessed by our patients in the right manner. So for today, I really want to emphasize two big important priorities that we have for 2021, and how does that incorporate into your lives in 2021. In 2021, as we can see, the main theme that I would like to emphasize here, our R&D and our scientific advocacy. Remember that Novo Nordisk is actually passing a very important milestone when it comes to R&D and the science, because it's in the first time in the history of Novo Nordisk, we're going to start 8 phase 3 trials at the same time, 8 phase 3 programs across various R&D projects and therapeutic areas that we have never been operating in, such as cardiovascular disease and CNS and hepatology like INSEMA NASH project. So it is an important year where we know that the South African team, the CMRQ team there, will contribute enormously with the many trials that will be running in your countries. And that's an important part also to think for all of us, how we can enhance the collaboration between medical, clinical, and regulatory, and to bring that scientific advocacy to our investigators, our HCPs, and our medical community, because all what we're going to do now and today and 2021 will pave the way for our commercial colleagues in the coming future and to launch those products. So it's really important that we really make sure that we have a very strong partnership and collaboration and a functional focus in 2021 when it comes to the scientific advocacy. The second theme that I think it's an important priority for us in BAMEA, as well as for you in South Africa, is definitely the GXP excellence. And by this, I really want to reiterate that it's so important that we have house in order. Our GXP colleagues in regulatory quality and PV are the ones who are sustaining our licenses to operate. And it's also important that in 2021, both in BAMEA and also in South Africa, that we keep pushing our boundaries to explore innovative pathways. We can definitely shape the ecosystem that we're operating in. Be bold, go out there, try to challenge the status quo that you have in regulatory, in pharmacovigilance, in quality, and definitely make sure that you are exploring ways where you can align and where you can have strategic partners with your decision makers and your health policy makers in your countries. So I think these are two areas that you will definitely hear a lot from us in the BA, and we will make sure to support our CMRQ PV team in South Africa under the leadership of Tobeka, Ugentry, Minesh, and also the medical team. I think in terms of the medical, the one thing that you will hear a lot about how we can focus our frontline medical engagement and how we can ensure the cross-functional collaboration with market access and with the commercial. So I wish you all the best in 2021, and I really hope that the first country I'll visit after this COVID crisis is over will be South Africa again.
Thank you so much, Emil, and we hope so too. We're looking forward to seeing you. From Emil, we now go straight to Panos, who's giving us the legal and compliance update. Over to you, Panos.
Thank you very much. It's great being here, but also as it was mentioned by everyone else, it would have been better to be in South Africa. Just to say that I was very happy to hear from Vekan that the bell continued to ring throughout 2020, and I'm pretty sure that this will happen for South Africa affiliate throughout 21 as well. Regarding my first topic of focus for South Africa and for BAMEA in general is, and as it was alluded from my colleagues as well, is the digital world. Due to COVID-19 in 2020, we had to adjust quickly to the new world. I believe that with everyone's support, we did a quite good job and providing clear guidance to all of our stakeholders throughout the year in the process. I think that it is very important to share that I believe that South Africa is quite advanced on this area. So from my perspective, it will be really important for you not to be shy, share your best practice and help us take the message even further. An area that I would like for you to focus is the COPA implementation, and it would be great if you could manage support of all of our colleagues of uploading all the contract needed into the system. Regarding my second world, I was trying to think different kind of activities and initiative taking place in South Africa. An area that I think that it is really important, as it was mentioned by both Venkat and Aisa, is the compliance ambassador. At this point, I would like to thank Aisa and CJ for all the great initiatives and activities that they did during 2020. I'm pretty sure that they're going to continue with this pace in 21. For me, compliance ambassadors are a very interesting example of collaboration and sharing best practices within all of our affiliates. Please help us keep the momentum and reach out to your compliance ambassadors when you are in need on any questions and any support throughout 21. I would like to thank you again for the invitation, and I'm pretty sure that we will continue with your great questions later on.
Thank you so much, Panos, for that update. And of course, compliance ambassadors, or if you're wondering how to become one, if not one already, use the chat box, send Anelle a message so that she can then help us pull your message through, your question through for later on. We're going to have our Q&A very shortly, so make sure you have those questions coming on. Send them to ABRG on the chat, and then we will be able to catch up with you in a short while. And last but not least, now I would like to hand over to Mikkel, who's giving us the update on finance and operations. Hello, Mikkel, and over to you.
Hello. Thank you very much, and good to see you all, and thanks for inviting us today. Much has already been said, so I think it's limited what I can add to all the great words that both my colleagues, but also Venkat and the South African management team have shared. But to start with, to all of you in the affiliate, big congratulations on a fantastic year. Difficult circumstances, not only due to COVID, but also the difficulties that South Africa is going through in the economy in particular. In many ways, I think you have handled it in an extraordinary good way. At 2021 focus, I think, is much about capturing on the learnings from 2020. That was an extreme year in many ways, and build on all that we observed and changed in 2020, so that 2021 will be even better. And that, to a large extent, calls for cross-functional collaboration between you inside your teams, but also across teams in South Africa. In finance and in marketing, we have talked a lot about resource allocation, and of course, to make resource allocation successful, that requires cross-functional collaboration to a very large extent. We've done that, and you have done that in 2020. You should continue that, and that's just one example of why cross-functional collaboration is important. Another thing that both Emil and Panos also alluded to is, of course, that we cannot forget our license to operate. We can never forget the house in order, and transparency in the way we work, compliance around our processes and how we apply both internally and externally. That continues to be in fashion. So I urge you in your growth journey to keep that in mind, to continue to focus on these elements and continue to use your strong knowledge about your markets, your strong data, to use for continued sound business decisions, and of course also to maintain the agility within your teams, in the society in general, to adjust as needed, because 2021 will surely also bring new challenges to the board, and if you do that, then I'm sure that you'll be very successful again. So thanks a lot and good luck in 2021. Look forward to see you all again, hopefully very soon.
Thank you very much to the entire BAMIAC management team. Of course, they are staying on the line for us for 20 more minutes for the Q&A. And remember to send your questions, please. This is your last and final call to be sending us those questions so that we can pull you in studio and you can ask it yourself. How lovely would it be? Everyone misses that we could have this meeting in person, but because of the new normal, none of that can happen. So let's set a standard and really participate. Make sure that you are with us in this meeting, much as you are joining virtually. So we look forward to hearing from you. Earlier on, I said that we have a surprise guest speaker. Well, I saw him walk in at the corner of my eye, and I cannot wait to have him on and hear what he has to say. But first, we're going into our Q&A, and you obviously heard a lot, and you can see even on our studio branding that we are also commemorating and celebrating the 100 years of insulin as a company. Here's what's that all about. Have a look.
In the past 100 years, diabetes care has advanced significantly. And it all started in 1921 when a team of researchers in Toronto made a life-saving discovery. For the first time, they were able to show that the molecule insulin could lower blood sugar levels in dogs with diabetes. They began by saving the life of one young boy. But by 1923, insulin was in production globally, and researchers were busy discovering new ways to refine the formulation, minimize the dosing frequency, and decrease the burden of treatment. Until this point, diabetes had been a death sentence. But with insulin, the average life expectancy of a person diagnosed with diabetes improved dramatically. As we began to understand more about diabetes, it became clear that there are several types, and that type 2 diabetes is the most prevalent form. The incidence was growing, and the race was on to develop new treatments and approaches to care. New technologies, like the portable glucose meter, eventually made it easier for people to monitor their condition, and the discovery of HbA1c enabled physicians to better assess blood sugar management and evaluate the impact of lifestyle changes and medication on long-term health outcomes. The 1980s saw the development of human insulin, which was highly purified and could be produced in unlimited quantities, as well as the launch of the first insulin pumps and insulin pens, which improved quality of life and gave people a discreet and precise means of self-administering the right dose of insulin when needed. Before long, insulin analogues were developed to more closely mimic the body's natural pattern of releasing insulin. And treatment options expanded for people with type 2 diabetes, with medicines like GLP-1 analogues, which went beyond blood sugar control to also regulate appetite and food intake. In recent years, a new generation of insulins arrived to reduce the daily burden of care by offering even greater flexibility and by helping people avoid low blood sugar levels and reduce the risk of weight gain. Today, people with diabetes have more treatment options than ever, including GLP-1 in a tablet and digital health initiatives that include smart insulin pens and continuous glucose monitoring devices, which are making it easier for people to manage their treatment and their blood sugar levels. So what's next? Future innovations include the potential for a once-weekly basal insulin, glucose-sensitive and cardioprotective insulin, new digital health solutions, transformational stem cell therapies, and even the hope for a curative treatment one day. At Novo Nordisk, we are committed to addressing the challenges of diabetes as we continue to drive change in the next 100 years.
We will, of course, be commemorating this throughout the year, and there's a team that's working on it behind the scenes. But I now am joined in studio by both Aisha and Venkat. Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And then we also have virtually joining us, of course, the South African management team, and they'll be on in a while. And we also still have our BAMIAC management team. Welcome back to you all. And we are now going into the Q&A. I did actually also send out a notice to the team to send us some questions. And we have a few written questions that we would rather than just go straight into. And the first one here is for you, Tulay, actually. The question is there a specific reason why the clinical team is officially classified as office-based, even though they are working off-site at doctors' rooms and hospitals?
Thank you for the question. They used to be classified in that way before, but for the last 1 year, we have changed the setup in some of the countries already, realizing their fact just daily they are not in the office and they are spending much of their time in the field, and it is not necessary for them to come to the office for remaining 2 days in the week. So we have changed the setup in Russia, in Israel, in Turkey. I know that Zanele has been working on this together with the team as well, and this experience that we have been through last year, moving to a more virtual environment and working remotely, will accelerate this setup as well in South Africa. So it was a need before, but now the needs are changing, and we are adapting ourselves very quickly. So you will see a change in your setup as well soon in South Africa as well. But I am sure Zanele also made provide more information about the local timing, because it is important to consider needs and local timing when we are deploying some global decisions as well. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Tule. Zanele, we'll come back to you on that in a second. I believe we actually already have a question or a caller waiting online. For us, Shalini is already on the line, eager to ask a question, so let's go straight to her. Hello, Shalini, and welcome. What is your question?
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so my question is for Venkat. So if we look at the company's success and how well we've done, especially during a global pandemic, what are the key learnings, in your opinion, that we should continue with and that we need to build on in order for us to sustain and grow on this growth that we've had so far?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shalini, for that question. And I think that's very relevant. We have already dwelt on that. I think we have learnt our lessons with the digitalization. A meeting like this with having entire BAMIAC management team would not have been possible in the normal time. So we need to learn this. We have heard from Mike and Andrea and Emil that we are not going back to the old way of doing things. It's going to be the new normal, digitalization, virtualization, and a hybrid model. I was actually looking forward to the Zoltify launch, which is hybrid, but because of this new surge here, we are not doing that. But maybe going forward, we will be not bringing in all thousands of the doctors in one room for a launch, or we will not be sending so many doctors to the ADA or EASD. We have heard from ML wonderful initiatives that were done. So I think that will be the new way of working. We will carry our learnings of 2020 like everybody else, and then merge and blend into the new way of working as we move on. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. And then we have another question that was submitted before the meeting, and the question is for Tom. And Tom's question is that, is NHI likely to be accelerated in view of the pressures of the healthcare system in South Africa?
Thanks very much for that question, Leko. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Perfectly well. Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, I think a very good question. NHI has been on the agenda, obviously, for a number of time. It is not just a South African program. I think it's the WHO program to provide access to everybody. I think just going back to what Anin indicated, that there is a worldwide movement to provide access. So yes, of course, I think with the COVID-19, there is a talk that equitable access to healthcare will be accelerated in South Africa. So we'll see more movement in that area. But I think all it depends on availability of the resource. But there will be a lot of noise in the direction to accelerate more health insurance.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And the next two questions are similar, but I guess what I can suggest we do, and they are IT related. Okay, I believe we have another question on the line, so we will rather transfer to that right now. And we have Ruth on the line. Ruth, welcome. What is your question?
Thank you, Leko, and good afternoon, everybody. My question is directed to our CVP, Emil. And the question goes, in your view, Emil, are there any key business risks foreseen with the second wave of the COVID happening? And by the way, in South Africa, I've had talks of a probably third wave. So are there any business risks?
Yeah, I think definitely there are. So Ruth, thanks for the question. And I think the risk is related to, for instance, our new launches here that we are having in South Africa. We will be wondering if people are scared for their lives, they're scared of walking to clinics, they are not out there. They might not go to the doctor to talk about obesity and weight issues or want to seek out help in that regard. So some of these opportunities to engage, simply having sort of attention span taken away with patients, with doctors, it might be a challenge for the Saxenda launch, but it shouldn't be an excuse. I'm also seeing that luckily the world is getting used to operating with this new COVID reality, and people start, attending to their health in other respects. I just got a mail from colleagues in the UAE saying that now the flow to clinics is normal. So if it's true that as human beings we really do adjust to almost anything after a while, then maybe we shouldn't be so concerned. So I would say yes, there could be some risks, but I'm actually not so concerned outside maybe the uptake of the newest products being a little bit slowed down. But that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you, Emil. Aisha, let me quickly come to you before we go to the caller on the line. Do we as an organization need to do anything to comply with Popeye? And what needs to happen for us to comply with the Act?
So we are completely papaya ready. We started doing that in 2019 already. We've commenced with trainings internally for our staff. Our P&O department is also all up and running in respect of their P&O compliance. All our contracts are compliant, and as an organization we are completely confident that we are papaya compliant. So I don't think there's anything we need to do in addition to what we've done already.
We can attest to that. We've attended various workshops already as a team, and I'm sure the audience remembers that. Thank you, Aisha, for that. I believe now we have a caller on the line, and Dintswalo has got a question. Can we go to Dintswalo? Hey, Tins,
Yes,
good to see you.
Hi, Lego. Can you hear me?
Perfectly well, thank you.
Good to see you. You're looking stunning.
Thank you.
I have a question to local management. So there are a number of global initiatives implemented a few years ago, some as recent as a few months ago. And these initiatives that have resulted in some business functions, mainly global business services, being executed from certain countries like India. So while it's very clear that these initiatives have a positive impact on the global business as processes get more optimized.
We've lost Tins. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, so I would like to know do you want me to start from the beginning?
No, just the bit about you wanted to know, like it has benefit on the global business. You can take it from there.
Yes. So I would like to know what our local NN management is doing besides getting a better BBBEE score to ensure that our country is protected. And by that, I mean people do not lose jobs, and our local entrepreneurs that could provide the same services are also protected. Because I believe we need to strive for a good and fair balance to help build our local economy as well and create value to our society. Thank you.
Venkat, would you like to take that?
So, okay, that's a good question, Tinswalo. Really appreciate that. And I think that's always on the top of the minds, right? How do you balance the priorities of the company, while at the same time we have a win-win situation in the country? As you rightly said, we have always demonstrated that. Who would expect that in midst of a pandemic and a depreciating rand, our business area colleagues, Emil and Mikkel, would help us to get the EAP approval in the country, right? And so that means an investment of 65 million rand over 5 years, right? I was personally surprised. Tom, Aisha, Lula, all of us, we worked very closely for this project over 4 years. So I think we should be very proud of that initiative. I also understand the undercurrent of your question about the jobs and other things. While we have moved some functions to the global business services in finance and P&O, we have always made sure that it's striking the right balance of ensuring efficiency, but at the same time making sure that locally and as South Africans, we are all protected in a way that the business is always first and the patients are always first. So clinical trials and CDC is another example where we are having so many newer initiatives happening in the country, and I'm seeing that despite some functions moving to the business services in Bangalore, we have seen increase in our numbers of colleagues. The case in point is the slide that I showed in the beginning. Last year, we had started the GLP-1 business unit. We had expanded the number of our FTEs. This year, once again, we have invited so many new colleagues. I'm fully cognizant, and our management team is fully cognizant of the question, and we will do everything possible to strike the right balance in ensuring the best for our country, South Africa, and also the win-win for Novo Nordisk. I hope that addresses your query. Thanks, Tinswalo.
Thank you, Venkat. Let's now go back to Bamiak, and I've got a question for Anivan, and after Anivan, I've got another one for Emil. So we'll take them one after another and then bring our virtual audience in for a question. Anivan, your question is, What are the innovative ideas in mitigating price pressures from competition in other parts of the world that we could learn from?
Okay, good question. I think there are a number of things that various markets are doing. It also depends on the sophistication of the healthcare system. So some of the things that we're looking at are innovative contracting, there's risk-sharing agreements, there's also pay for performance. These are some of the things that we do see with some of our Access colleagues in various parts of the world. But I'd say that even within BAMEAC, we have some examples of that. So without going too much into details, we're also working on a risk-sharing agreement with the Ministry of Health in Israel for Rybelsus launch. So there are always opportunities to be somewhat creative as long as we are able to look for win-win solutions with our customers, with our peers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anivan. And Emel, we also have a question for you because I understand we've got about 2 callers queued now. Emel, what innovative plans are proposed for further enhancement for Emel, not Emil, so it's a CMRQ question. What innovative plans are proposed for further enhancement of medical collaboration with regulatory affairs and clinical teams?
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going
it's an important question that can you hear me now?
Perfectly well, yes, thank you.
Okay, I think it's a good question because this is something that we should keep asking ourselves at all layers. How can we enhance the collaboration between regulatory, clinical, and medical? One of the, let's say, innovative solutions that we're planning now and we're discussing also with CIMEA is to bring regulatory and clinical together with medical at early stage during the trial allocations and when we decide on which trials should go to which countries. And that depends on the patient pool and also on the possibility of bringing that product to the market. So that's one of the areas that we're exploring, creating some sort of more concrete platforms. And I can give you an example that from BAMEAC, what we are planning to do in 2021. We have agreed with my team that actually we will be creating a platform for the scientific advocacy and R&D that will bring clinical, regulatory, and medical together on a quarterly basis, where we will be allowing our regulatory colleagues to share what is there in their pipeline in terms of data to support our submissions, as well as our medical and clinical to share their expertise. So I think by creating concrete platforms where we can support that dialogue, that kind of a communication and partnership, we can ensure that we have that kind of a functional focus and we can move as one team because eventually we're part of the R&D organization. So I hope that is one of the solutions that we can bring, and we're also more than happy to hear from affiliates of any possible options they think can work from a local perspective.
Thank you, Emel. I would now like to bring in Ntabeleng. She's on the line. Ntabeleng, are you there? Welcome, and what is your question?
Hi, everyone. So my question is directed to our CVP EKL. I would just like to know what challenges did we face as a business area when it comes to virtualization and digitalization during the year 2020? And what plans do we have in place to help circumvent those challenges for the year 2021?
Okay.
And that is a good example of a technical problem. So I think the first thing we learned with this with digital, and I know Emel and I had that discussion that on the technical side, the devil is in the detail when we engage around our various events. I mean, I've been part of many events where we started, the server was down, there were some IT problems. So I think we have learned to take IT and the technical part of digital very, very seriously. I mean, Leko, you're standing there and you have someone in your ear telling you about things going on, and you've become a pro in handling situations where sound doesn't work through. You have a plan B. Immediately you go to your prepared questions, etc., etc. And I think that's a good example that if you don't prepare very, very diligently, then you can't pull off an event like this, because I think we have learned something will go wrong. So you need a plan B and a plan C, etc., etc. So these events, in a sense, take much more preparation than our old live events, because there were so many things that we just handle on the spot, and that only works live. Here you have a whole crew that need to be ready for the plan B and C's, etc. So I think we have learned something around the need for preparation and the incredible importance of the technical stuff. Because the problem is that if you get a live meeting a little bit wrong, people will rarely leave the room, because it's a little bit embarrassing if you're sitting at the front row and it's boring or something doesn't work. You don't walk out the room and have a coffee in the cafe next door. But of course, if it's these meetings, we can't really control if people are zooming out and going to their kitchen or sending an email or reading a book or whatever. So I think we have learned something about taking this task really, really seriously. And that's probably one of the things I would say. We've also learned to try and keep it shorter and be very, very crisp for key messages. And that's an ongoing thing. We're not there yet. I'm definitely not. But that's part of it. So those are some of the learnings. There are many more, getting consent, etc., etc. But perhaps preparation and attention to detail in execution, I think, is one of my learnings, at least, and what we've discussed here in Istanbul.
Thank you, Emil, and I couldn't have said it better myself. I believe now we've got Ruby on the line. Ruby, welcome. Can you hear us?
Hi, Leko. Yes, I can.
Hi, Ruby.
Hello from a lovely, hot and sunny Cape Town. This question is directed at Emil, and I wanted to know, is Novo Nordisk looking at supplying frontline employees with the COVID vaccine?
Oh, that's a good question. There's actually, Execman has been discussing the whole vaccine issue in great detail. And I think they have, of course, seen that there's a dilemma here. Let's even say we could get our hands on the vaccine, but then would we want to use scarce resources and get Novo Nordisk employees ahead of employees in a given country or citizens in a given country that might be more needy? So far, the guidance is that we will let governments, hopefully democratically elected, make the best prioritization of the use of the vaccines locally at any given point when there is a reasonable supply of the vaccine, and where the most vulnerable populations have been vaccinated. Then the company will definitely look at facilitating and picking up the cost of vaccinating our, of course, Novo Nordisk employees. But we have to be careful that we don't, of course, try and get ourselves ahead of all those people around the world that might be more needed than healthy Novo Nordisk employees. At the point in time where we get to Novo Nordisk employees, and if there's still some sort of a limitation, which there shouldn't be, but if there still is, then of course I think we should definitely look at, as you say, and that will also, I'm sure, local management, any management in Novo Nordisk would say, then we should prioritize those colleagues that are at the biggest risk, either due to their own health situation or the work they do for Novo Nordisk. So I hope that also makes sense, but there's a moral dilemma, as we all want to get ahead, but we don't want to get ahead of that have a greater need. That is also the company perspective.
Okay, thank you, Emil. I'm getting a cue, like you rightly said, somebody's speaking in my ear constantly, that we need to actually wrap up our Q&A, but I've got one final question that came from Anonymous. The question is for the South African management team. The question is, internet connection is poor in South Africa. With the requirements to work remotely, is there any consideration for Novo Nordisk to ensure each team member is set up with Wi-Fi or fiber?
Okay, so that's a good question, very relevant with the new way of working. So definitely we will work closely with you. You can reach out to your managers and your heads of the department. Wherever you know that you get a phone with certain bandwidth already, that's already provided by Vodacom. I'm not getting into the details here, but if you have any further requirements, if you need more bandwidth or Wi-Fi, you can always speak to your manager and head of the department. Zanile, Lula are always there to help out in particular cases where it is required. We will do everything possible to make the remote working or working from home as nice as possible.
Thank you, Venkat. And with that, we have to wrap up. Thank you very much to our BAMIEC management team. There were, of course, more questions for the rest of you, but we will email them rather than we can send them to the relevant people with your responses. And also thank you very much to both Aisha and Venkat for joining me in studio, as well as Nithya and Donovan, who are on standby, our local management team joining us virtually. Thank you very much. We do actually had questions that were sent prior for all of you, but in the interest of time, we're going to have to call it a day here. I did promise earlier on that I had a huge surprise in terms of our guest speaker, and after this, you are so never ever going to want to miss Company Day. Anyway, we have Vusi Tembegwayo coming in to speak to us about the Trend to Zero talk, which centers on this whole digitalization space. If you don't know who Vusi Tembegwayo is, I'm a bit worried about you, but nonetheless, yeah, right, Aisha? But nonetheless, please Google him quickly. This is the man that Nelson Mandela described as the epitome of what the freedom that he, Nelson Mandela, fought for. That guy is coming to speak to us after the break. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back. Welcome back. Vusi Tembegwayo is in studio. The energy is high, and unfortunately, Eskom had to go and interfere with all of that hype. But we're back online. Apologies for the delay, and we hope you're still with us. Please remember that you can still send us your questions for the guest speaker later on. But for now, again, a man who needs no introduction, Vusi Tembegwayo, entrepreneur, author, investor, and so many more. But here's a quick intro so that you learn more about him, and then thereafter Vusi will come on to speak to us.
Not only is Vusi Tembegwayo one of South Africa's most prominent venture capitalists, global business speakers, entrepreneur, and author, but this trailblazer is a maverick, leadership genius, and a disruptor who's taken South Africa and the globe by storm. When Vusi was merely 25 years old, he ran a 400 million rand division of a renowned multinational and was one of the youngest directors of a JSE-listed company. As a world-renowned speaker and entrepreneur who lives business more than just talks about it, Vusi is inspiring a new generation of young entrepreneurs to surpass mediocrity and strive for greatness. Please welcome the one and only Vusi Tembegwayo.
Thank you so much for having me here. Holy shit, what an introduction. I feel thoroughly unprepared. So first, thank you so much for having me here, to the team and to everybody that's watching this conversation. I'm really humbled that you've invited me. It's my very first engagement this year, and I'm looking forward to what I think is going to be a 2021, certainly far better than the year 2020. The conversation you guys have been having has been about the power of one. And of course, it's an important power because it talks to the power of ownership and the things you and I can do to own the space and the moment that we're in. And of course, what would it be to have an event in South Africa and not have load shedding hit us? So we went from the power of one to zero energy. And that's a bit about what I want to talk about today, which is this trend to zero. It's arguably the most important trend of our time today. Everything you and I know is trending down to zero. And why zero? Because the zero marginal cost of the production of everything makes it such that you can unlock the next unit of something at a cost lower than the unit before. It's disrupting everything. It's disrupting all industries. It's disrupting almost every single sector that you and I operate in. Consider for a moment the world of publishing, for instance. Right? What's the unit cost of producing the latest article on something today, or the latest newspaper? Well, it depends. If you're doing it and doing it digitally, then the unit cost is actually zero, because that's the cost of distribution. You create the article once and you can distribute it anywhere in the world. Think about this conversation that we're having. Well, what's the unit cost of this conversation? If you zero rate the cost of data for you to watch this conversation, then actually the cost of production for all of this is near on zero. Of course, that's not really the cost, there's the hard fixed costs of doing it, but it changes the way consumers interact with organizations, with products, with businesses, and with everything that we know. For you and I, it means that we need to rethink how we do business, how we engage with one another, with our colleagues, with our industries, and most importantly, with our societies. 20 years ago, the cost of producing everything was determined by the largest player in the market and their ability to achieve efficiencies in that market. Today, the cost of producing anything is actually determined by the smallest players in the market and their ability to distribute the production of that product across that whole market. That has changed everything. Just yesterday, we heard that the United States president, who will be for a day or two longer, was impeached for the second time. And I'll tell you in a moment why that's important. Not only to consider that, but also to consider the world we're in and the geopolitics of our time. Everything that's happening around our moment, our movement, and our space. So Professor Jeremy Rifkin, whose work I studied, talks a lot about this idea of the zero marginal cost. This idea that the production of an additional unit of anything is actually zero. The guys at ESCOM haven't caught the memo on this yet. So here's what that means. In the world of hydrocarbon energy, when you want to produce an additional unit of power, you need to mine the coal, transport the coal, burn the coal, and then transmit and transform that energy into the energy we're using to produce all of this. But what would happen if we use solar energy? Well, there's a fixed cost, and the fixed cost is the cost to lay out the solar infrastructure. What's the cost after that? It's zero. Because I don't know about you, but the sun hasn't sent me an invoice for my solar panels yet. Well, what would be the cost if you're using wind energy? Same. The cost to lay up the infrastructure is a fixed cost. And beyond that, the earth hasn't sent us a memo or an invoice for the production of wind. So the world you and I are in is migrating quite aggressively towards this zero marginal cost. Banks are having a hard time dealing with this. You know, in the banking sector, they used to have this world where they would charge you banking fees. Are you noticing today that more and more banks are moving towards zero as a cost of the banking fee? Why? Because you and I as consumers are saying to them, but why should I pay for a banking fee? In fact, you should be paying me for keeping my money, not me paying you to access that money. Telecommunications companies are having the same problem. We're talking to them about the cost of data and why the cost of data is so high. You know, there are parts of the world today where the telecommunications companies reward their users for the data that they're using rather than their users pay for that data. The world we're in is shifting, fundamentally changing. And if you're not paying attention, this augurs to be very disruptive for you and I in my space. So you heard in the introduction that I run a venture capital firm. I do for my sins. What that basically means is I raise institutional money and I invest in people who are building the future. One of the companies we invested in just over 3 years ago is a financial services business, operates in West Africa. It does a lot of kind of payment work, but actually a lot of transactional work, right? The kind of stuff that banks used to do. This company allows you to move money from one bank account to another bank account except having a bank account. So you can literally move money from one person to another, from wallet to wallet, without either of us having a bank account. The cost to use their service? Zero. So how is it that this business has achieved a $250 million valuation, but yet the cost for us to do what we do to the underlying user is zero? Massive fundamental shift. Elon Musk has been thinking about this an awful lot too. Of course, Elon Musk thinks about an awful lot. But you would have noticed of late that even if you think about Tesla as a business, right? So the cost of buying a Tesla is X, but once you've bought that Tesla and you can plug that Tesla into your power socket and recharge the batteries, then what's the additional cost of running on the Tesla? you might argue the cost is zero. It's not really, but you could argue that. Because think about it, if I'm running renewable energy sources and I'm getting my cost of energy at zero, and I'm then using that renewable energy at a cost of energy at zero to recharge my Tesla, then actually the cost to use my car is also zero. Max Levchin, fascinating young man. You should know him. He was a co-founder of a business called PayPal with another young man called Elon Musk. Max Levchin just listed his business called Affirm. They're a financial services and insurtech business. And you know how much it costs for you to insure your business with them? Zero. So the question you might ask yourself is, how do I insure my product at zero? The entire way that they're doing it is they sell the data of the products that are insured, the utilization of the products that those people are insuring, and the longevity of those products in market to the actual manufacturers. That's their business model. And if you insure with them, then the cost to insure is zero. It's a fundamentally new way of thinking about how you and I do business. And here's why I think it's going to become transformative. There are three main things I'd like to share with you. First, data is the world's most valuable commodity today. And so the question I'd like you to ask yourself is, how much data do you have about your market, your customers, your competitors, the products you're selling and the products that they're selling, about movements in spaces, about particularly at a geographical level and at a macro level, how much data do you have? And how much of that data are you using every single day? Data is the world's new oil. It literally is the world's most valuable commodity today. Second, in this world of zero marginal cost, the second most important thing to consider is that actually brand and patents have become increasingly more valuable. You know, just over 50 years ago, if you went and looked at the balance sheets of most large businesses, then what you would have noticed was that of those balance sheets and the value in the balance sheets of most of those large businesses, the largest amount of their value set in fixed assets and infrastructure. Factories, PPE, not the PPE that the politicians stole. I'm talking about property, plant, and equipment. But that's where the vast majority of the wealth of companies sat. You know the vast majority of the wealth in the companies today? It's in patents. It's in brand. It's in this thing called intellectual property. Just go and have a look, as I did do. Go and have a look at the latest Alphabet numbers. Alphabet, of course, is the group company for Google. And go and study their numbers and see how much value they've placed in patents as well as IP. It's an incredible number, larger even than the actual fixed assets. And so the question for you and I to think about is, how are we treating our brand? How are we protecting our brand? And how do we communicate our brand every single day in the marketplace? You know, brand is not what you say your brand is. Brand is what your customers say your brand is, absent of you in the conversation. And so really, the true value of our brand is the lasting impression we leave in the market every single day. It's a difficult thing, by the way, because that lasting impression is not only about what we do at the customer sale point, right? But it's also about whether or not our products are efficacious, they're value-driven, and they deliver value to our customers every single day. That's such a tough thing to do. Make sure that our products are on the money every single day. So something there for you to think about. The third thing to think about, which I think is absolutely critical, particularly when we think about this world of the zero marginal cost, is you've got to ask yourself, what happens around the curve and beyond the corner? Well, what's that mean, around the curve and beyond the corner? So when I was working on my first book, The Magna Carta, I got to interview the world's best MotoGP riders. Marc Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo, of course, the doctor himself, Valentino Rossi. And I asked each of them a simple question. I said, chaps, you guys are the best MotoGP riders in the world. And they are, bar none. Of course, Brad Binder has now made his way into MotoGP. But if you really think about what that means, here's quite simply what that means. I asked them, I said, guys, so what makes you the best? Jorge Lorenzo said he thinks he's the best because of how quickly he takes the corners. So we took that little note down and we kind of sat on it, myself and my team. And a few days later, then got to interview Marc Marquez. And I said to him, what do you think makes you the best? And he said, I'm the best because of how quickly I take corners. And I was like, this theme of taking corners kept coming up consistently. And then we got to talk to the doctor. Number 46, Valentino Rossi. Without question, the greatest rider of all time. I asked Valentino, I said, come on, what makes you the best? He says, it's how quickly I take the corners. So I said, I keep hearing this thing about the corners. Tell me more. And here's what he says. In the Spanish GP, he will reach a corner. Now listen to this. He will reach a corner doing 196 kilometers per hour. This is on a bike. Now I just want to say, as a black person, this is why we're very happy. White people, you can have MotoGP. We don't want it. You don't need to transform it. We don't want a quota. You guys can have it. We are absolutely fine. This is some things, there are some things white people do that have you as a black person going, yeah, belung. Yeah, street. Anyway, so he says 196 kilometers per hour. He reaches the corner, 196. Now listen to this, he says. He lifts his body off the bike. He lands on one knee, one elbow, and his entire body weight is almost completely on the ground. He tilts the bike to about 60 degrees angle, knee and elbow on the floor. And do you know what he does then? He accelerates even further. So I said, why on earth would you accelerate with your body weight on the ground? Valentino Rossi says, if you lift your body off the bike and land on one knee and one elbow and accelerate as you take that corner, then what happens is the laws of physics dictate that the bike will pull up in the opposite direction as you accelerate. In other words, they go faster through the corner and they don't use any amount of energy pulling themselves up. They get the bike to do it just by accelerating. So here's a question for you. What are the corners in your business? What are the things, the deeply held beliefs that we hold so true, the processes that we hold so guarded that we will not change them, even though we know if we did, we might be able to compete at a new level and do business in a new way? Because, and here is the point, as Marc Marquez said, anyone can go fast in a straight. Great riders win the race at the corners. So anybody can do great business when the market's good, when there's no COVID, right? When the macroeconomy is growing, the global economy is not in trouble, anybody can do well then. When global supply chains are not in question, anyone can do well then. But can you do well when you hit the corners, when you hit the snags? How fast are you through those corners? And so the world of zero marginal cost actually infers on you and me to rethink everything. So ask yourself the question, what would your business look like if everything you were making you had to sell at zero? How would you make yourself more efficient, more responsive, and more customer-centric? Which brings me to my fourth and final point. This conversation about customer centricity, I love the word. I often hate the overuse of it because I think it's become so overused, we sometimes just don't really know what it means. So, I've studied this now for a long time. And what we know about customer centricity is that it's effectively driven by four things, and I'll list them for you very quickly. The first is you've got to make sure that what you offer the customer is relevant. That means you need to understand the customer at a personal level and make the product that you offer them meaningful. The second is you've got to make sure that what you offer for the customer is timely. It has to be there as and when they need it. The third is you've got to make sure that what you offer for that customer is critical. In other words, if it's not something they need as and when they need it, it's not really driven by customer demand. It's often driven by what product you have on the shelf. And the fourth is the most difficult of these to do. Not only because it's driven by how the market responds, but also how the organization is geared internally. The fourth is making sure that what you're offering the customer is not only relevant, not only critical, not only timely, not only personalized, not only meaningful, all of these things that I've mentioned already, but make sure that what you offer the customer delights. That's such a tough thing to do, right? It's a tough thing to do, to make sure that what we offer the customer actually delights them, particularly if we're selling a product that's a critical product or medicinal product, a pharmaceutical product. How do you make sure that paracetamol delights someone, right? We often misunderstand, I think, that word delight. Delight doesn't necessarily mean makes them happy. It means meets customers' expectations. Tough thing to do, meet that customer's expectations. So cast your mind back and think about some of the things that I've shared here with you. This migration to the zero marginal cost. This idea that most things are shifting down to zero, and I think that that trend is going to accelerate all through time. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it in your business as we speak. But remember this, of all the things that I've shared, that great teams, great organizations are always the teams and organizations that thrive at the corners, not just at the straights. So those are my thoughts, and I'm going to hand back now, back to Leko.
Should I just come on? Thank you so much, Vusi. Thank you very much. That was amazing. And I hope that you've enjoyed his talk as much as we did in studio. We were busy taking notes. Remember that this is your last and final chance to be asking questions for Vusi. He's not with us for much longer. So please use that chat box and send the questions to Anel if you've got any. I think there's quite a lot actually that we could take away from his talk, which would put us ahead of the competition. With that, I would then hand over to Venkat just to get your comments and review, and then we will get into the Q&A immediately.
Thanks, Leko, and thank you, Usi.
Thank you.
I had a chat with you, Leko and I, a few days back, and to see you live in person and to speak to all of us is really fantastic.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that you taking the time. And what you spoke really rings a bell with all of us. You spoke to 10 to 0, and we have our own circular for 0. Which is about our environmental management plan.
Right.
But I think one question you told us, which I'm reflecting now, and I'm sure all my colleagues are doing, is what are our corners? Right? I think that's a very, very valid question. So, in your experience with the world changing around us, what do you think we should prioritize there?
Sure, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know your business well enough to say what you should prioritize. Yeah, I mean, you know, this is, I almost want to default to accounting 101. It sounds to me like a degree of operating leverage question, right? Yeah. So what I would say is, what are the things that you could do that 1 degree change in something would have a greater degree change in something else? Yeah. That's often the hardest thing to do. I find, particularly in businesses where we're invested, that we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy on the things that have the least change outcome. Yeah. But we spend that time and energy on that thing because it's most critical. And sometimes you've got to shift it the other way around and go, actually, you know, if we did this, we'd get a much higher degree of change. Here's a terrible example, but it's the only one that comes to mind. Twitter closes Donald Trump's account. They lost $15 billion in market valuation. One man's account, $15 billion in market valuation. That's a degree of operating leverage question. Yeah. In other words, there's clearly something about a user and user data that drives the valuation of that business. And I suppose for you it would be a similar thing. It's what is the one thing we could do, or the things we could do that would give us the greatest change leverage? Yeah. And I think, Leko, we have discussed that, the 3 things: launches, working on digitalization as we speak, having the agility
the power went off here as we speak. And you can see Vusi sweating in the studio. I think that is what we all look forward to. But thank you so much for that.
Yeah, just a quick one from me, Vusi. I think that a lot of us are caught up in this digital and virtualization world.
Yeah.
And here you are talking to us about trending back to zero.
Yeah.
Are we catching ourselves again on the back foot of something else that has already taken off? Because I think that a lot of companies, much as it has been a discussion that's been ongoing about virtualization, digitizing and all of that, we were actually forced by COVID in 2020 to speed up and catch up with the rest of the world. Are we caught napping in any way, not necessarily Novo Nordisk, but on a global scale? And I'm also just asking for personal, on a personal level as well, because we have to align with the trends that the company.
You're on the money. I was saying to a client, just yesterday actually, I was saying to a client that in 8 months, this lockdown and COVID forced us to do what we couldn't in 8 years. And one of the things I think we learned, if we're honest, is that the technology was always capable.
Yeah.
We were the problem, right? So, I remember trying to get clients to do virtual stuff. This is a true story. Clients would fly me. I mean, I still wish they would now. But clients would fly me from here to Brazil to Argentina to do a 20-minute talk and then back. It's a 24-hour transit for a 20-minute talk. Right?
Imagine that.
So I mean, it's literally moved that fast. The technology, I think, is always more capable than we want to believe it is. But what I think we do as human beings is we find ways to talk our way out of the technological solution. Right? So it's, well, I mean, can we keep our customer data on the cloud? Is the cloud safe? Listen, the cloud is probably safer than your own servers.
There is also that aspect of distrust with the technology, right? We see it as something that replaces us. I think on a social basis, we definitely enjoy using the technology, but once it gets into businesses and their workspace, it's a different story. How do we overcome that to amalgamate what it has to offer with what the human resources still have to offer in us moving towards that trend to zero?
Well, the thing is that it's not a distrust, it's a fact. Technology does replace us. There's no doubt about that. But what technology replaces is us doing rudimentary work, rules-based work, because technology can do rules-based work much quicker than you and I. What it means is our organizations and how we craft our organizations, we need to start thinking about, so where do we apply human resources? Because maybe we don't need human resources in the rudimentary rules-based work, but we need them in the creative work. We need them in the work where they have to connect with other human beings. I mean, if you've ever phoned a call center and you get that automatic voice receiver, that AVR, you know all too well that you would pay anything to talk to a human being on the other side, right? So even though that's rules-based, you still want a human connection. I think what you're going to see over the next 25 to 30 years is a weighted average of people migrating towards functions that are not automated, not rules-based. And that's a fantastic thing, because it means that we can finally get human beings to be exactly what they are, human. Right?
And with that, I believe we have Tinswalo back on the line. Now she's on the screen on our right. Tinswalo, are you there? Can you hear us?
Well, I am here. I can hear you guys. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you perfectly well.
Oh, super. That's very good. Vusi, nice to see you. I last saw you at Gibbs.
Oh, dear.
Which is the reason why I have a question that's related to business schools. I read an article a few days ago that says it's time for business schools to start anew. So even before the COVID-19 hit us, many business school leaders were already questioning and redefining the role of business schools in societies. So what I want to ask you is, what do you think they should be focusing on in terms of their offerings to make sure that whatever it is that they're offering to us, who are actually aspiring to become leaders like you today, is relevant for us to overcome the challenges that we face with today? And this is mainly, I'm trying to imagine a post-virus era here. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, Tinswalo. Thank you for that. So there's a migration, a shift. AMSA did this work about a couple of months ago, but there's a migration, a shift of focus in business schools away from some of the harder technical subjects, in particular to more softer issues with a huge focus on leadership. Because what we're learning is, you can learn how to read a balance sheet.
Yeah.
And you can learn how to read a balance sheet at any stage in your life. Yeah. But one of the things they are proving now is that if you don't learn great leadership abilities by the time you're 30, it has a huge impact on your trajectory as you grow. But how many business schools have a module on leadership? And those that do, when does that module kick in? It typically kicks in towards the end of an MBA program. And it's clear that that's something that needs to happen much, much sooner, right? So there's a huge shift in the focus on subjects and the focus on subject matter, as well as the focus on the outcomes and outputs of a business school education. I'm excited to see what it'll look like. I lectured a few business schools. I'm a adjunct faculty in a couple. So I'm excited to see what it'll look like. But suffices to say that I think the next 10 years are going to be 10 years of discovery. Nobody has the answers for this. And that's one of the things business schools have to become really good at, is saying we don't know, but we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah. And then in that space, though, what happens to the people that are already in the pipeline? I think South Africa is often, criticized for thinking or preparing people for employability in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And then listening to you about how we turn the curve and how we bend that curve also impacts on how people are attuned and acclimatized to how that specific business requires them to work.
Absolutely.
How do you bring in then that, forward thinking, future preparedness in the workspace, because there are confines, obviously?
100%.
Yeah.
I think, so if I'm an employee of this organization, here's what I'm taking away from this. Whatever I know is expired. Whatever I'm about to learn will expire the minute I learn it. So your ability to develop and grow is not your ability to know something. It's not your ability to learn something. It's your ability to unlearn and learn something new. The most important thing you can do is focus on a consistent and constant re-education. Remember the time, like there was a certain level of education you got and you were fine. You remember that? Like you went, you did this course and that. You did this course and that. And oh man, if you got your MBA, oh my God, that was it. You were now ready for the boardroom. Yeah, those days are over. What I'm saying is, even at the instance at which you have that certificate, it's dated. There is new information, new data being made available right now as we speak. So the crazy thing is, I'm adjunct faculty at business school. I'm going to business school because I'm learning all the time. I studied economics, right? When I studied economics, there were two major fields of economics, micro and macro. Over the past 5 years, there's been this development of a body of economics called mesoeconomics. And most people listening to this don't even know what that is. And there's an entire study of what that, so which means if I stopped when I stopped, I wouldn't know what it is. The most important thing for you to focus on is how much are you being educated and re-educated every single day. There's just no finish line anymore. And maybe that's the exciting news, is that there is no finish line.
Yeah. I believe we've got Shupu on the line. Shupu, can you hear us? Hello, Shupu? We can see you. It doesn't seem like you can hear us. Can you hear us, Shupu?
I can hear you now.
Go ahead and ask your question. Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Vusi, if you were to look at the pharmaceutical space from an investment point of view, what would you consider investing in? If you take the the tech space within the pharmaceutical space?
Oh man, that's a tough question. It's a tough question because your industry is so deeply technical. The product life cycles take forever. The R&D costs are through the roof. Like it ticks all the boxes of what an investor does not want to invest in. It's like, it's going to take forever to launch the product. Then you launch it, and there's the regulatory hurdles and all of that jazz. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough to answer that question, but I would say this. I would invest in anything that would be downstream and have mass population impact. I think you would know this better than me, but I think that the challenge for the industry going forward is not necessarily going to be the generation of new pharmaceutical products. It might be the distribution of those pharmaceutical products, particularly in the peripheries where the cost of market is much higher than the average population is able to support. I think that that's where the future will be, but again, I could be wrong.
Kat, let me come to you now. Vusi spoke about the 4 aspects to consider to offer relevance, that your product is timely, that it's meaningful, and it delights. Yeah. We obviously have a very rich basket and a huge offering, and we pride ourselves for creating innovation that saves lives. What is your outlook, and where areas where you think we would need to improve further on what we're already offering in light of those 4 key elements that he spoke to just now?
Yeah, thanks, Leko. I'm also absorbing what you have said. If I may deviate a bit, you just said there is no finish lines. But colleagues, I can tell you there is a small finish line for us this year. We know our AB 21. Yeah. But you're absolutely right? To your question, Leko, I think we have also learned a lot in this 1 year, right? Yeah. About launches, for example. Yeah. Saxenda, as we speak, we are moving from a hybrid launch to a virtual launch. But that doesn't mean people are not waiting for that innovation to come in. So we learn from our lessons, but I'm sure the colleagues here, we learn a lot from our team, right? How they have responded to this challenge, how they have found innovative ways of reaching out to their customers, our DNEs, our field colleagues. I think we need to put our learnings together and not forget them when we're out of this COVID. I think that's what also Vusi was saying. That's true. If you think you had an MBA once, like when I passed my MBA, that looks like thousands of years ago. I thought I had achieved something in life. But now, degree tells me you need to finish these 10 courses by this weekend. So there's a lot for us to do. But I think we have also done a lot. We should also be proud of what we have done and learn from that. And I think the product innovation speaks for itself for us in Novo Nordisk.
Yeah. Thanks, Venkat. Megan, I believe you're on the line. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Perfectly well.
Fabulous. Thanks, Vusi. My question to you is, as a parent of young children and looking at how the future environment and career environment is changing, if you were speaking to school children right now or parents of young children, what direction would you encourage them in, given how we grew up and what was important or considered important? That environment's definitely changed.
Sure, that's a great question. So for context, I've got 3 kids, 10, 8, and 3. The 10-year-old is Vusi, the third, as you do. The 8-year-old, my daughter, is the boss of the house. She really just, bloody hell, she runs everything. And the 3-year-old has got him, we call him the chairman, because he gets his way all the time. But it's interesting, Megan asks this question because the missus and I had exactly this conversation actually some time ago. So what we've done with our kids is we focus them on hard technical sciences and humanities. So I'm not actually worried about my son's math score. Like, that doesn't worry me. He takes coding and I'm worried about that. Yeah. And they take languages. So my kids do Mandarin, Swahili, French, isiZulu, English, and of course Afrikaans, and I want to add one more language. My view, Megan, is that if you can get your child to be worldly by teaching them different cultures and different languages, and you can teach them the way the web works, that the confluence of those 2 things will prepare them for whatever the world has to throw at them. I just, when I was growing up, I had to learn BODMAS. Yeah. I'm not sure. I just don't see BODMAS. Did I?
Hey, big throwback.
Did I show your age? So I'm just not sure. I don't know how Pythagoras fits into this anymore,
Forgot it.
No doubt our kids will have to learn critical reasoning skills. But I think that, I think I'm much more worried about my son and my kids being a part of a technological world that they can compete in. That's what worries me. And sometimes I look at the curriculum in our own country and I think we have a lot of work to do to get that up to par.
And with that, we have come to the end of our Q&A session. Thank you so much, Vusi Thembekwayo. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. And that also brings me to the end of my assignment today. Thank you so much for having me as your host. And we apologize for the glitches that we had. It was just a learning curve. But I enjoyed being in front of the camera. And I hope you as my audience enjoyed also participating and watching us live. Until next time, goodbye from me. But I'm going to hand over to Venkat now for the official closing. Over to you, Venkat.
Thank you so much, Leko. Really appreciate all the good work that you have done to take us through the meeting. And also a big thanks to Vusi for being here. I would also like to express my thanks to Anil and the crew from the tech crew here, Ryan from Flash Forward, for taking us through this new technological innovation, and we are able to reach out to everybody. A big thanks also to our BAMIA colleagues who were able to participate in live for our meeting. So just a few things from my side is look out for an email that will come later today, a surprise gift for everybody. We hope from the management team you like it. And then you go and get some lunch now. And before I close, you also may want to see what is this studio we are talking from. So I'll just invite my colleagues here so that you can see what studio we are talking from here. It's all just a green mass behind me. Yeah, and it's just a technology that made everything work. So just join me guys here, and then have a fantastic 2021. We'll all catch up whenever possible. Thank you so much.